You know what I love? I love that you don't care what sort of engagement you're getting. Like, it's clear that
Who
you
said
just...
I don't care, but?
Bro, I guarantee you don't care about the things that you're putting up, and people are like, people hate it. Some people hate it, and they're commenting all the hate, and then people obviously love it, and they like, you're getting comments on both, from both, and whatever. It's like, it's just good engagement. It's mad.
Yeah, like they say, new publicity is good publicity. Yeah.
Are you a believer of that?
No, look, I don't think. No. I wouldn't say all publicity is good publicity, in the sense you don't want to just sell yourself in order to get engagement. Like, you know, those people on the internet where they upload videos of them like doing really stupid pranks, and it's like, we'll do anything for the views. If we have to trip over an old lady with a walking stick. I don't know why you're laughing, Anthony. That's. Are you one of the guys that laughs at those videos?
I don't.
Yeah, you better not. No.
But I laugh at the idea of someone falling.
Yeah. But it's like, some people do anything for the views. And when I started doing all of this, I had to really think about, like, what kind of page do I want to have, and what kind of audience do I want? Because you can make a whole bunch of content to boost your audience. And it's like, what are they there for? Are they just there to be entertained, you know? And you can combine entertainment with other things, but you also want to have substance. You want to have a mission. You want to have an objective. So the main thing for me is like, okay, they need, like, the people, my audience, anyone who decides to click follow, they have to know what they're signing up for, you know? So someone in the faith, someone who's going to be quite, you know, blunt and direct about what they believe, and hopefully a bit of entertainment along the way. With the podcast, someone who enjoys sitting in on my conversations, because that's what a podcast is, really. And so that's driven a lot of decisions I've made. For example, like a giveaway. When I reached 1,000, I think it was 1,000 followers, I did a giveaway.
Yeah.
Right. And initially I thought, how do I do this? And everywhere says, you know, you tell people to comment and follow and tag and all this stuff. I thought, no, I don't want people to follow me because they want me to give them money or an iPad or whatever. Yeah. Like, I want to reward the people who are already committed, you know? So I didn't mention anything. As soon as I hit 1,000, I just announced, for the first 1,000 followers, all you have to do is comment your favorite episode of the podcast and why. Regardless of the reason, you'll enter, you know? And there was like 90 or 100 entries or something.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I did a phony double entry.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't work. No.
But the one on the Against the Grain one was just a message of, it was a comment of support. It wasn't a formal entry, you know?
Yeah.
And then I did one on my own.
Yeah. Tried for that iPad.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I thought that was good because it rewards the people who are there because they wanted to be there. Like, imagine you're supporting someone and then they announce to the rest of the world, hey, you know, I've had a degree of success for a milestone. Now anyone can win this. It's like, man, I've been here before there was any sort of, you know, money or...
Yeah, fair.
And since then, every milestone, I just hint that I'm going to do a giveaway and never do it. And now it's just abuse. So everyone just abuses me.
Bro, I love what you did with that first 1,000 one. Like, that's so good that you wanted to reward the people that were already there.
Yeah.
But then, your stories where you're like, what should I do for 4,000? And the options you give
just get worse and worse. Yeah.
There's some of the funniest things.
Yeah.
You're like, you can have, one of them was like, you can have 4,000 followers, but you have no friends or something.
It was quite a popular option. I was like, geez, man, everyone needs to settle down a little bit, man.
Bro, you know what? That shows the sense of humor your followers have. It's mad.
Yeah.
And they need to have that sort of sense of humor to be a follower of
you do.
Anyway.
And look, I think as well, when you're doing this stuff, we can't pretend like people don't think certain things. And what do I mean by that? It's like, I hate the internet generally. I hate social media. I do, right? I hate having to record, like sitting in my car and recording myself. I feel like the biggest idiot. I don't like it. And I've spent half my life making fun of social media influencers. But technically, you and I fit into that bracket.
Nah, I don't know if I do.
No, you still do. You still do. You have a podcast. You have like your social media channels.
But I'm just a podcaster.
Well, what does that even mean, just a podcaster?
As in... my podcasts are online and short clips of my podcasts are online.
Yeah.
Whereas you're an influencer.
All I'm influencing people is to hate, bro. That's all they do. Just abuse me. That's all. You should see some of the DMs I get, man. We'll get to that.
No, I joke.
But it's
I
like
get you. I get what you're
we
saying.
joke about like influencers, and then you realize like you're sort of pretending to be one. And so I try and get ahead of it by making fun of myself, so that people can partake in it rather than them thinking it privately. Like, let's bring it to the light.
Nice.
Surely some of you guys are thinking, oh, this Francis guy, who does he think he is? You know, who does he think he is? You know, trying to make money off us, or so that's why when I posted a photo of that hoodie that I got made, there was like a hoodie. I just posted. It was on my story, like this hoodie, and I sort of hinted at some merch. You know, one of the options was like, give me your money. Yeah. Sorry, take my money or something. And then the other one was like, of course you're going to try and make money off your next one. Fans. And like the next three options were one big sentence about how I'm a grub and a slime ball for trying to take people's money.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
So we should just like sort of enjoy it and let people laugh about it. That's my view anyway.
Nice,
Not take it too seriously. If you take the internet too seriously, man, like you literally will become suicidal.
Yeah, that's
like,
actually so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Because you get, in my opinion, you get either extreme on social media. You get like the extremely positive, happy people having the best day ever, and they think, you know what, I want to spread positivity. You know, so they leave a comment or they send you a message or whatever, and then you get the complete other extreme where it's the most, I don't know, I don't want to say, I was about to say the most depressed people, but
no, look, they're not necessarily depressed. Some of them are just outraged generally at the world.
They're just
maybe
angry
just
at life.
outraged at me. It might not even be the world, and that I could accept if that's the case. You know?
Yeah.
But you're right. It is the extremes. It's very rarely the ones in the middle. No one's like, "Hey, not bad."
Yeah.
You know. No. It's like, wow, this was a very profound episode. And another one is like, do you two idiots ever stop talking? Like there's no in between. So
that's so true.
If you listen to either, I think you can go the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, because we shouldn't just be seeking those people that are overly happy. Like we should just be doing what we believe is true and right. That's it.
Yeah.
Just what is true and what's right.
Yeah.
And not worry so much about the feedback because it comes, man.
Amen. Yeah.
And some of it is very interesting.
Yeah. No doubt.
To say the least. So
Can you share any interesting ones you've had?
I mean, I can. I'm not going to obviously give names, but
name and shame.
Yeah, name and shame. We're going to put their photos up on screen right here. Yeah.
What's the most interesting one you've had?
Okay, so one person said, "You know what? I'm going to show you the message."
Oh, right? Yeah, please. All right.
And then we'll decide if we read it out. Look, I don't like to share some of this stuff.
Might have to censor it.
Yeah. No. There's no
bad?
This is on the extreme good side. We'll get to the extreme bad side.
Oh, I think I may know what sort of is coming, or no? Is it completely? Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be.
Wait, what was it?
Yeah, say it. Read it.
Sarah feels like, look, this person basically was hoping that I would clarify my age, Sarah, because she wants to rule out daydreaming about me moving to her country and marrying her.
Can I listen? If
my response, you should have heard my response, but.
Oh, did you respond?
I did, yeah.
That's nice of you.
It took me a while to work out what to say. And look, God bless her. Like it's a very flattering message.
Yeah.
But I just said, just to clarify, I'm 29. Regardless, what you're describing would be a nightmare. For her, that is, not for me.
Oh, did you clarify?
Yeah.
That?
You know what? I realized today. Did she think I meant for me?
Bro.
I should actually clarify. Yeah.
I mean,
I was just like, it was supposed to be self-deprecating humor. Like, no. What you're dreaming about is actually a nightmare.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking back, the message wasn't too clear.
The way you said it wasn't very clear.
I think we're going to have to clarify.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is something I can say. Like, if you don't want me to have this out, I don't know. But
nothing's off limits. And worst case, things are just going to cut from here.
Yeah. Just transition into another conversation.
Yeah, no, go for it.
All right, the Lilies Among Thorns podcast that you did? The girl that was your age?
Don't they both? One was like 27, one's 29, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're they're around your age, but one was your age.
Yeah.
She was like the main one talking.
Yeah.
Throughout it. I can't remember her name, sorry, but
Julie,
yeah.
they both have the same name, Julie and Juliana. So yeah.
Oh.
They both go by
yeah,
Julie.
that's right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
But one of them doesn't one of them go by their surname or something? I don't know.
Zenith,
Yeah. Anyway, her. As soon as you showed me that message, I was thinking, is this her?
No.
She seemed like while you were talking, she seemed like she had like googly eyes.
Oh my gosh, no.
No, I joke.
No. They
seem
lovely.
like they're doing good. Like they seem like they're actually doing good work. Like
yeah. They're doing great work. Yeah, they both have their own personal pages and they're starting this podcast. And no, very lovely girls, very switched on in the faith as well.
Thanks, pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you see they had Voice of Reason guy?
I saw. I messaged them about it. I was like, that's awesome. They're like, yeah, we're friends. I'm like, yeah, mad.
They're just friends, huh?
They're just friends.
That's mad.
Meanwhile, in Western Sydney, just all the lebos from the area.
Well, yeah,
imagine running into Alex from Voice of Reason at El Jannah or something, you know?
Bro, oh my gosh.
But look, I did mention to them that I was planning to go to the US at some point, end of this year or next year.
No way.
And they were saying, look, that'd be awesome. Maybe when you come, we can do an in-person podcast. And then when I messaged them about Voice of Reason, they're like, yeah, sometimes he's in LA. Maybe we can link up, do a podcast together. And I was like, man, that's the goal anyway, to crack sort of the US scene. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy. So you're actually looking at going to America now?
Yeah, I mean, I was always wanting to, man, just to go enjoy the NBA and I've always wanted to go to America anyway. But if I can sort of go there and do some of this stuff there as well, there's plenty of tax benefits. I mean, benefits for the mission, evangelization and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Are you going to take your own stuff, or are you like to do your own podcast, or were you thinking of just joining them for theirs with someone like Alex from Voice of Reason?
It would probably be joining, like in the Lilies Among Thorns case. I'd probably just be joining them.
Yeah.
I really couldn't take my whole setup. I didn't even think about it, to be honest.
Not fair.
So yeah, I'd probably be doing that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, look, you get messages from all sorts on the spectrum. Some, like the more abusive ones, some of them are quite long. A lot of women get angry. I don't know why.
I have a few ideas of why women would be angry at you.
But you know what? You know, the majority of my followers, it's reduced now, but it's still over 50% are females.
Yeah.
But then the majority of the abuse is also. So I think it's mixed messages there.
Yeah. I think, I mean, most more like you can speak generally. Like you can speak generally and say most women are pretty switched on. Like that's why most of your followers are women, over 50%. But at the same time, I don't want to speak for you, but some of your content that you put up, surely you're putting up to just get a little bit of reaction. Because do you have the long form talks? Do you have them out?
Look, they're on YouTube, but they're unlisted. Unless you deliberately go to the link, you're not going to find it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some things, can you say? Surely you're putting them out just to... Because I look and I go, oh yeah, I know I know what he's saying. Or at least I think I do. But then I think, surely he's put this snippet in so that people wonder, like just to get a conversation started, to get people going, what are you talking about? I completely disagree with you.
Yeah.
And then you go, and then it just starts a conversation. Is that...
Look, it may seem the case that I'm intending deliberately to be inflammatory.
Yeah.
It seems to be the case. And even people that like my content make that assumption.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, my intent is not to be inflammatory. My intent is actually to create a culture where no conversation is off limits.
Okay.
That's what. So all of those clips are from talks. In that talk, there's no one getting upset or riled up.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're there for the whole thing.
Yeah.
That talk about, wives submit to your husbands, that's an hour and a half. That was an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
No one walked out of there upset or angry or wanting to disagree. Yeah. In fact, quite the opposite. A lot of them walked out feeling like there'd been clarification and they understand a little bit more, and etc. But of course, when you clip something, and you put it on the internet, do I know that it's going to be inflammatory? Yeah, I do. But like the point is to sort of read it. Anyone that complains is just, hey, here's the link to the full thing.
Yeah,
Watch it.
yeah, nice.
Watch it and let me know. So I do know that some of it is inflammatory, but it's not inflammatory for the sake of being inflammatory.
Yeah.
It's just inflammatory because I'm touching an area or touching on an area that people just assume no one's willing to touch on. You know? So when I did
that.
Yeah, so when I did so for example, the whole like respect thing between husbands and wives.
Yeah.
If you ask any crowd, you say, do you think there's any reason for a husband to disrespect his wife? You know, have you ever seen The View, that show The View?
Yeah.
You know, all those like self-righteous Karen women, you know.
Yeah. They bug me. Yeah.
Yeah, they bug everyone, right? So if you say to anyone, hey, is there any reason for a man to disrespect a woman? Everyone's like, no. You know, like that real like Karen no, you know, like with certainty. It's like, no, there's no reason. It's like, okay, fair enough. I agree with you. There is no reason for a husband to disrespect his wife. Then you ask a second question. Is there any reason for a wife to disrespect her husband? Now, people will still say no, but it's just a little bit less of a head shake. But it's still a no. But it's still no. It's still like, no, they shouldn't. Okay, cool. So there's no reason for either husband or wife to disrespect each other. We all agree? Yeah, cool. And then I go a step further. And I just give one example of disrespect that's not okay. And then I'll say, for example, some women think the time of the month is an excuse to disrespect their husbands. And everyone's like, oh my God, why are you talking about our period? You don't know what it's like. You don't know what PMS and PMDD are like and our hormones are like, and you don't know what this is like. And I just say, okay, is it a reason to disrespect him? It's not that simple. Like, it is that simple. It really is. Sue me. It is that simple, is it not?
Look,
Anthony's whole podcasting career is flashing before he dies.
No. It's just I want to.
Can I? Do you want me to flesh it out a bit more? That way, we're not just agreeing to blanket statements.
Yeah,
I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that no matter what's happening in someone's life, they have to be jolly and tap dancing. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, let's just say I've had a really bad day at work. Okay, for whatever reason, I've had a horrible day at work and I'm infuriated or frustrated or whatever it is. And I come home and I do not have the bandwidth to be able to speak in a respectable way to my wife. All right? God forbid a woman made that decision to marry me.
It's not God forbid this guy. Stop talking like that.
No. I've told you, I have to get ahead of it. Half your viewers are already thinking this after what I just said.
But they'll soon find out you're a catch.
Soon. We got see how many hours. Yeah. After 10 hours of recording.
Once we keep going, like, we get down to the heart of it and we're like, oh, finally, we know Francis is a good guy.
No, but look, but all I'm saying is it's not hard for a man, or it might be hard, but it's the right thing to do would be to say, listen, right now I'm not in a good headspace. I can't talk. Give me an hour. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to have a shower. I just want to sleep it off. I'm not in a good place. That's still respectful. And it avoids putting yourself in a situation where you need to disrespect your wife. Same goes the other way. Yeah. If a woman, for any reason, whether it's hormonal or other, is not in the right place to deal with certain issues, there's a respectable way to deal with that. And it just comes back down to honest and open communication with your spouse. That's all I was suggesting. In the context of that talk, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
You know, don't use things generally, any person shouldn't use things going on in their life as an excuse to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
I agree. I think I've had this conversation so many times with Sarah. We'll talk about this.
Yeah.
And it's now I don't want to sound like I'm the guy who prefaces things with like, hey, don't be upset and all this stuff before. Like, I don't tend to do this, but this tends to be something that's misunderstood, right? But it's this is what I always say to Sarah is when we talk about women, because we talk about both the problems with men and women, right? But when I talk about women, I get particularly passionate because I think that women have been led astray for so long that now they think that it's biological that they're this way, right? So we're just going to get into it. I haven't even introduced you yet, but we're getting into it. I'll introduce you after.
Is all of this not part of the podcast?
It is.
Oh, I was going to say.
Imagine now we're just talking.
Yeah.
No, but I haven't even introduced you. We just got straight into it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'll give you a formal introduction, I promise. I'll give you that due respect. But
That's fine. You've been more than respectful. Don't worry.
thanks, bro. But women, so if a woman gets like, a little bit like overly upset or something like that, or a reaction to something is out of proportion or whatever, in my experience in life, they've just been like, well, like after everything settles down, they'll be like, you need to be a bit patient with us. Like, we're emotional people. Like, women are more emotional beings and all that stuff. All right. I get that. I do. Women are more emotional beings than men are, but they're not more emotional than they are logical. Right? So like, you can't hide behind, oh, we're just emotional beings. It's like, no, you are more emotional than men, but you're still more logical than you are emotional. Like, you can't let the emotions take over. There needs to be logic there too. But I think they've been fed the lie for so long. This is just my opinion, by the way. We're not talking about any formal teaching or anything like that. But my opinion is they've been fed the lie for so long that they're just completely emotional beings, so that they need to just act off emotion, based off of their emotion at all times, and it's completely justified. It's not. You're still a logical person. You're still someone who can think. You're a rational
being, 100%.
Yeah, who can think, that's right.
Which is at the heart of what I was saying.
Yes. Yeah. So this is in total agreement, by the way, with what you're saying. But yeah, it's like, don't hide behind that. So you're right. It's not. It's not an excuse to disrespect.
Exactly right. It's not an excuse to do anything bad.
Yeah.
There's never an excuse to sin. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Right? But to go a step further, those that are riled up by it and saying that I'm being insulting or offensive or disrespectful, which are the words that were used in private messages, I would say I'm actually offering you more respect, because I'm suggesting that you have full self-control to not sin.
Yeah.
Which is more disrespectful? Oh, some women sin because they can't help it.
Yes.
Or, no, there's no reason to sin. And all women and men are capable of doing or learning what is necessary in order to avoid these occasions.
Yeah.
I'm actually offering them more respect.
Yeah.
As complete rational beings with a free will.
Yes. That gets to the heart of all this like equity rubbish that you hear all the time now. And it's like, I mentioned this video before. Do you remember that video of the Premier of WA?
Yeah.
Did that video with the Aboriginal translator.
Yeah.
And he's speaking plain English as if he's talking to kids.
Yeah.
Like as if he's talking to little children. And then she's finding it hard to translate because she's like, you said it as simple as you could possibly say it. So she's just adding one to the end of everything. Yeah. Anyway, it gets to the heart of that issue is the whole feminism and leftist movement of the world is dominated by rich, powerful, tyrannical white men. You could keep going. The list goes on of what they call it, whatever.
I prefer patriarchs.
Patriarchs, yeah. It's tyrannical patriarchy. Yeah. Anyway, the whole idea behind that, is actually a genuinely sexist and racist ideology, but they just claim that the other side is racist and sexist. But it's like, it's exactly what you said. Is like they feed people the lie that, well, women don't have complete, I guess I was going to say autonomy, but then that just makes me think of bodily autonomy and the whole.
No, we can still use it.
Anti-life
Abortion
argument.
has nothing to do with autonomy.
But yeah, like autonomy and self-control and all that stuff. And then also, like the WA example, is like they think this race is so inferior that they can't understand plain English, and so he gets this Aboriginal translator to do it, and people just believe it because it's like because they're saying it. They just call other people. They spend so much time calling other people racist and sexist that people believe it. But it's like if you actually get to the heart of what they're doing, like imagine I went up to an Aboriginal person and I started talking to them as if they were a baby, and I was going like almost like Chris Tucker and Rush Hour. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? But you start talking to them like I can't think of an example, but like
that's the insult.
Yeah,
that's insulting.
Why can't I think of something that I would say to them? What is going on? But anyway, I'm talking to them like they're a baby because I think, well, you're Aboriginal, so you're inferior. So I have to talk to you as if you're uneducated and you're whatever. It's like
Dora. Can you say backpack?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Like that's problematic. But as soon as you point that out, and if you point that out in a direct way, then you're offensive and whatever else you've been called.
Yeah. Many things. We've been called many things. Yeah. But my question usually is, and look, on the whole, like wives and husbands, and there are some criticisms that I get, right? There was at one point this one account that kept commenting, saying that, I just feel like this guy keeps popping up on my feed. And I was like, yes, that's good. That's a win. But he just keeps popping up on my feed and it's like he has it out for women. I was like, has it out for women? Like, listen to the whole talk. It was a talk about wives submitting to their husbands, and 65% of it was about what men need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
part 2 was called Husbands Love Your Wives. And it was another 65% of what men need to do. And the criticisms are there for both. The difference is, like you said, I feel like women have been lied to as well. And like we can get to the criticisms of men, but it doesn't really, the obligation isn't to produce or target each one 50-50. No, we target issues where they are. It doesn't matter what the percentage breakdown is. Because if 95% of all the problems were with men, these same women who are rolled up wouldn't have a problem that we're targeting men. No, they'd say that's the issue. It needs to be targeted. When we talk about issues of like, sexual assault or domestic violence, right? Most of it is targeted at men because most of it is committed by men, albeit issues with underreported when it's women towards men, etc. But still, right?
Yeah.
So no, we don't just pretend like it's 50-50. It's not 50-50, So that's the first thing. The other thing is like, for instance, who are you to tell us about marriage when you're not married? And to that, I say completely fair enough. But I'm not coming up and saying, hey guys, let me tell you about my experiences as a married man. I've never claimed to have experience as a married man. Instead, I think it was Aristotle or Plato, I'm not sure which one. I think Aristotle. He said that we become wise by learning either from our suffering or the suffering of others. And like, you don't have to experience something yourself in order to come to understand it. You don't. Now, obviously, when you experience it yourself, there's a degree of understanding or an aspect that you wouldn't otherwise get.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if I say to you, Anthony, that stove over there, if you touch it, you'll burn your hand. And then you watch that stove and then you watch Sarah burn her hand on it. You're like, geez, what Francis said is right. Okay. And then you go on a world tour, letting people know touching stoves will burn your hand. And someone's like, have you ever touched one? It's like, no, I haven't. But based off what I was told and what I've seen, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Now, if we want to take that analogy, the church is telling us something, the saints have told us something, and we've observed it in practice. Mm-hmm. St. John Chrysostom is the basis of this talk for me, and he speaks extensively on these matters. All I'm doing is taking what the church has taught and St. John Chrysostom and other saints have taught and just translating it to today. It's not really anything original. I'm not that original, to be honest with you, So, it doesn't really matter. My question to them is, forget about what my experience is. Just let me know where I spoke in error. And I'm happy to correct publicly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And I've even had people say, Francis, it doesn't, like what you've said isn't wrong. It just bothers me that you said it as someone who's not, in that position. And to that I say, does that mean every celibate priest can't say a homily that talks about marriage and relationships? Is a priest is a priest allowed to talk about sibling relationships if he was an only child? You know, are you allowed to tell me slavery is a bad thing if you've never had your own slaves? Like you can take this anywhere you want.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
we just need to talk about the substance. Is it true or is it not?
Yes,
you know,
that's very true.
Yeah,
yeah, because I don't do talks or anything like that. It's not my forte.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, probably not ever. But like I've just had chats. Like I was when I started to take up like a leadership role at St. Felix in the youth group there.
Yeah.
Like I would have a chat to people, and I was particularly interested because I knew that I was sort of like coming up into this like sort of leadership role.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, all right, like naturally people come to you then for a bit of help. And most of the time I'm just pushing it off to I'm like, go see someone wiser than me, you know? But there are times where, all right, sometimes you need to be able to help a little bit and then point them in the right direction. Like say something and then like go to a priest or go to a nun or, you know, religious brother or something, someone a lot wiser than me. But I took a particular interest in like understanding where women are coming from.
Mm.
So I would listen to talks given specifically for women, by women, like on anything. Like it didn't matter. I was listening to like Sarah Swafford. I don't even know if I've said that name right. But anyway, Leah Darrow. There was... Hey? Lila Rose, yeah, but she's mainly on life. Man, Lila Rose. Beast. We can talk about Lila Rose after. Yeah. Oh, bro, she's the best. I don't know. There was the one that came to Australia recently. I can't remember her name. She was like an actress, and she had an actress or a model or something. She had massive conversion. I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember her name. But like, I was particularly listening to those talks to understand. All right, if like, I don't know, if a girl came up to me and had some issues, I'd be able to at least understand.
Had you never encountered a female up until this point? You went on some you were studying women. You started on David Attenborough to see the males and females in history or something.
Listen,
if a woman encountered a woman,
yeah, what is a woman?
What is a woman? Yeah.
What is a woman? No, but it's like.
Yeah, you just wanted to understand their psyche a bit more and the issues that they face. And
and like what are women looking for? Like in listening to these talks, I'm thinking, or even understanding what the talk is about, I'm understanding what women are after.
That's what it was about.
Seeking.
You know?
Not in a man.
Yeah, okay, I see how it is.
Wow, this is why I don't give talks, bro. This is not coming across well.
Sarah, this thing between you guys has been years in the making.
I
Research.
actually met him when he was introducing theology of the body.
Isn't that interesting?
He must have finished his studying by then.
Yeah, I was...
To all the male listeners, take note. If you want to know what women are looking for, Anthony's going to release a guide.
Come to me. I know what women want. No, I'm joking. No, I'm far from it. But anyway, no, but like, yeah, just to understand, you know, this is where they're at and what they're seeking in life. And
what they're seeking. An honest question, where did you land on what is it they're looking for?
I'll be honest. This is what I figured out, right? I figured out some of the misconceptions. Oh, no, I guess the misguided things that they're seeking or whatever, the misunderstandings they have about men and whatever. And then I also found that they were like just the good in what they were trying to seek. So the good, firstly, the good they're trying to seek is genuine like virtue and things, but where they're looking for it, like, you know how we talk about social media and all that stuff? Like as a man, I don't really care for that stuff. Like I don't look at social media and get depressed that this guy has this life and all that stuff. But women, it tends to be something more directed at not directed. It's a problem, whatever, among women more than it is among men, right? So social media side of it, the living, you know, the perfect life with the perfect husband and all that stuff.
Comparing themselves to other people like online and stuff.
Yeah. Like a battle with correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, but women tend to be in a constant battle with other women that they don't even know.
I don't know. I wouldn't say battle, but we desire what a lot of other people have, and sometimes I guess that comes off as envious and in a battle.
Yeah. Like what I would say is like, so if you ask a woman why she wears makeup, why do you wear makeup?
It helps me feel pretty, and sometimes my skin will be bad, and I just want to cover it up.
For who?
Well, in that instance, it's for other people because I'm embarrassed. But then there are times where I'm like, oh, I just feel like dressing up today, so I'll put makeup on for myself. That one's for me.
I guess Anthony's question is, when you dress up because you want to look good, whose feedback do you value more?
Oh yeah.
Is it other women? So if all of your female friends said, hey, this outfit looks way better than this one, but Anthony said, no, the other one looks better.
I listen to the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
I'd listen to you, by the way.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah. No,
but have you read the book Exposing the Anti-Mary by Carrie Gress?
No, I've never even heard of that.
Phenomenal book, by the way. Highly recommend all women to read it, but I've read it as well. It's a really good book where she talks about sort of the heart of feminism and what's wrong with it. She's also appeared on Matt Fradd a few times. She talks about this, the competitive nature between women.
Yeah.
I think to the point where there are even studies that suggest women prefer working under a man compared to working under another woman because there's like this weird unspoken rivalry or something.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I prefer working under a man.
Why?
I don't know. I just hate. I'm more likely to be like, oh my gosh, she just doesn't know what she wants. Like, she doesn't know what she's doing. I'm like, I know.
Sarah's worse than all of us.
You thought I was the problem online. You two have said worse stuff, man.
I've been all right, bro. Sarah's no.
Nice, Sarah.
Yeah.
No, you know what? No, actually, no, I won't go there. But that's a place where they're coming from. Is like they're just in constant competition with each other, even if they're not fully aware of it. And anyway,
where do you think that comes from? What's it rooted in? Do you reckon?
What's it rooted in? I think it's a good question. I don't know. Do you have an idea? I could take like 5 minutes to think about it, but it wouldn't be a very entertaining podcast to sit and wait 5 minutes in silence.
You know. Yesterday I was at the St. John the Beloved pre-Lenten barbecue, and I was just there to help with the barbecue. Anyway, I finished the barbecue and I remembered I need to release this boxing vlog. So there's all these like random groups of chairs set up around the church grounds, the centers where they're dancing, random tables. Then there was just one chair in the middle of nowhere. And I just went and sat on this random chair with no one around, by myself. And it wasn't even pointed in any direction that makes sense. It was just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm just fixing the title, and then someone comes up and she says, Francis, it's a barbecue at a church. You're supposed to be social. I said, let me tell you something. Awkward silence doesn't bother me. And sitting by myself doesn't bother me. I can sit in silence for 5 minutes. Like at a talk, I'll ask a question and no one answers, so I'll just wait. Then it's been like 13 seconds and people are like, is he going to keep? I'm like, I'm not going to keep going.
What a boss.
Yeah. So my point is, I'm happy with awkward silences.
Yeah. I'm glad. Okay. Well, I'm happy to sit and think because I'm also happy with silence. I just think the people listening will be like, hurry up and say something.
Look, I wouldn't say I've given it much thought, but I think there is a part of it that comes from a couple of things. I mean, insecurity is one of them. I think it's really important especially as a young female to feel secure about who you are, most importantly in the eyes of God. And once you have that, you just stop caring about what other people are thinking of you. It's an important trait to have and develop in. But more generally, I think the world of social media has pitted them against each other deliberately. I think they're pit against each other. They're made to almost compete with each other.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, there might be one person in the village that was considered the most beautiful girl in the village. And it was like, hey, that's your only competition, you know. Now it's literally the whole world.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's
That's a good
with
point.
Photoshop, with editing, with everything.
Yeah.
It's a tough world, man, especially for the younger generations. Like I was teaching teens for a while at St. John's, and the things that these girls have to deal with online, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to justify them having social media at all.
Yeah.
You know, with the things that they're encountering and the challenges that they're facing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I don't know. They're good points. I haven't actually put much thought into where it sort of stems from, that competition. But I wouldn't disagree with you on those points.
Yeah. What do you think it is, Sarah, as our expert in female psychology?
Right. I would say it partly comes from like your desire or a girl's desire to be like to get affirmation from men as well. And because we're like pitted against each other, you always feel like you have to verse the girl in order to win the affection of a guy. Because like you just look at them, you're like, oh, like she's so pretty. Why would any guy ever want me? Kind of thing. So it's always like you're just trying to stay on top of the like, who do guys find most prettiest these days? Who like what will men look at and be like, wow, I'd love to be with her. But I feel like that's only one aspect. Like I agree with what you said. But yeah, I would say it's a
competing for the men.
Yeah, and then in turn just end up competing with each other because like the guys really don't care, it seems. But yeah,
I wouldn't say they don't care. The question is, what do they actually care about?
Oh yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
Or more importantly, the type of guy that you want, what would he care about? Because there's guys that will care about everything.
Yeah,
you can find someone that cares only about this and only about this and only about that. The question just becomes, what kind of guy do you want?
Yeah. Well, that's part of where I was going with the whole, like, researching women.
Yeah. Studying them.
Studying women.
Yeah. 55 volume series.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on volume 43.
Barely broke the back of it.
Yeah. But it was in relation to like, you don't have a right to talk about this because you're, to talk about marriage because you're not married.
Yeah.
I would talk, like, I would have a couple of chats with a couple of, like, girls who were older than me, but who were still single. And they were saying, well, we're trying to find guys, but it's hard to find a good guy.
Yeah, the classic.
And it's like, yeah.
There are no good men. There
are no good men, yes. This is a bone. Oh, you're going to open up a can of worms.
I didn't open up anything.
Please, yeah, but remind me to
I've got it.
to mention this thing. I have a bone to pick with women. Yeah, so I would have this chat with them, and it's like the same thing. Like, what are you looking for in a guy?
Correct, yeah.
And I was single at the time, so I wasn't dating Sarah at the time, or for one of them at least. But I was like, yeah, what kind of girl are you looking for? What kind of guy are you looking for?
Yeah.
And it's like, they want them tall and built, good job, tattoos. Some girl even like may even like earrings or piercings wherever else and all this stuff. Like it was just a whole list of all these things they want in a guy. And then
at St. Felix, they wanted tattoos and piercings.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hey, St. Felix was peak, man. All right, it was peak. But unfortunately, the reality was that even girls going to church were after those sorts of things. Not that tattoos are bad or piercings are necessarily.
No, I agree.
An innate evil, but it's like they're looking for those things, and then among those things is like and a prayerful guy. And it's like, okay, sure, no worries. So they got to tick all of these boxes for them to be the right person for you. And then what ends up happening is no one's able to tick all of those boxes. And then you end up single until you finally, if you finally become, I don't know, a bit more realistic and think no guy's going to tick all those boxes.
Yeah.
Anyway, So I'm talking and they're like, well, you know, like, you don't understand, like, people our age and guys our age, and, you know, when you start looking for a girl, then you'll understand, you know, this about the dating life and whatever the situation. And I was like, no, I don't think I don't think I will come to find those things, because, yeah, you have to be physically attracted to the person, but then what? I guess now I'm sort of going deeper into that topic rather than what I was addressing at first, which is the idea that you can't talk about this situation if you're not in it. But anyway, let's go a bit deeper. Is what is marriage to you? Is it the means towards? Is it a means towards an end, a greater end, or is it an end in itself? And if it's an end in itself, then it makes sense that you want a guy to tick all of those boxes. But if it's a means to an end, if marriage is your pathway to heaven, to your ultimate goal, then that changes what you want in a guy. Because if your ultimate goal is heaven, then he doesn't need to have tattoos or piercings or whatever else. Doesn't need to necessarily be tall or built, whatever. What you want to look for is, yes, someone you're physically attracted to, because that's important. But they need to just be men of God. They need to be men who are able to lead you to heaven. And I think that was, anyway, we used to have those conversations, and I got told a few times, you don't know, you don't understand, or whatever, blah, blah. But it's like, no, I get it. Like, I don't have to be dating at this point to understand how hard it is to find a good person. Or I don't have to be married to understand what a good marriage looks like.
It does very much, like, the question you're asking is perfect. All right, what is it you're looking for that you're saying is so hard to find? Because if you've got this giant checklist, and there are some chastity speakers, I forget which one it was, because I'd have no issue calling him out by name, but I actually don't remember, who's like, you know, you got to have this checklist. If someone doesn't meet it, then, you know, don't drop your standards. And we had a chastity speaker come out to Sydney a few years ago, and he was signing all these books for women, don't settle, be picky, and all these things. It's like, what does that actually mean? Don't settle on what? Now, yeah, you do need to be physically attracted, and you do need to be compatible and enjoy spending time with that person. But really, when it's all said and done, and, you know, what's the age difference between you guys?
Well, 1 year.
1 year. Yeah. So when you're 83 and she's 82, you're both going to be old and ugly. It's like, what's left?
Yeah.
Virtue and companionship.
Yes.
You know? And so if you're going to obsess over certain things, like, and create an ideal around your ideal man or ideal woman, it's only going to get harder to find. That's the reality. And it's this idealization I found. I mean, I struggled with this when I was a bit younger as well, to be honest. It's something I think a lot of people struggle with. It's having these ideals that you want to sort of live out or attain. But in pursuing that ideal, you're probably missing someone who God very much has in store for you, who is going to lead you on that path. Yeah. You know, and there needs to be a much bigger focus on virtue, way bigger focus on virtue. Like when I did that talk on Wives Submit to Your Husbands, it's like, oh, this man you're describing, you know, what if our boyfriend is not that? It's like, look, then find one who is.
Simple.
What if I can't? What if I can't trust him to lead him? Here's an idea. Find one you can trust.
Yeah, that's right. Know?
And that's what it comes down to: is that what is it you're actually looking for? And I said this in a talk once. Like, it would be in my interest. It's in my personal interest as Francis for manhood to be defined as over 6 foot with a beard and a nice deep voice. Yeah, you know. It's in my interest to define it as such, but that means absolutely nothing. Yeah. My height and my beard and my voice and all these other peripheral things don't mean anything. Really, what means something is one's virtue. That's what means something. Yeah. One's faith and one's virtue. And again, yes, you do need to be attracted to the person, enjoy spending time with them and enjoy their companionship. However, if the virtue isn't there, the foundation's missing. They're not going to, you know, stay beautiful forever. What's left? Yeah. You know? what's going to be left when it's all said and done. So I completely agree with you. Before one complains about, there are no good men out there, you got to really think about what is it that I'm looking for in a man.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. But I think, off the top of my head, I think I've heard it more out of women that there are no good men compared to men saying there are no good women.
Yeah.
More generally.
I agree. And I would even take it further and say on what you were saying about what are you looking for in a man, but it's like, what are you looking for in general, like in life? Because
that's right. Yeah.
If your ultimate goal is heaven and everything flows from there, then you're pretty sweet. Like if your actions are always centered around your ultimate goal, which is heaven, then you're going to be looking for the right things in a man. But if you're someone who has that long checklist, guy or girl, if you're someone who has that long checklist, then it means that you're you just have a bit of work to do in what your ultimate goal is in life. Yeah. And that's okay. Like people are at different points, but it's just understand that that's an issue and that it has to be fixed, and then take those steps to fix them. Like, but the bone I have to pick with women particularly is this. I watched a video recently at the Seek conference, and it's something that I hear all the time. There were girls who were asked, do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Girls who were asked like what the problem is with dating or something like that. And they said, well, men just need to be, men aren't brave enough anymore to just come up to a girl and say hello, start a conversation and talk or whatever. They need to be more brave, more courageous. And I'm thinking, all right, fair. Like maybe men do need to be more courageous. Maybe they do. But women need to play their part in that like a million times better than they currently are. Because if a man walks up to a woman, 9 times out of 10, she's going to think he's a creep. And she's going to treat him as if he's a creep when he walks up and says hello. All right? Like for the first time. So if I didn't know Sarah and I saw her at church, I'm specifically using the example of church, not a bar, not clubbing or whatever. I see Sarah at church and I think she's a nice person. Like, she looks good. So I walk up to her.
She looks good.
Yeah,
She looks all right.
She looks, what is it? She's a good Sheila. Isn't that what the Aussies say? Sheila. She's a good Sheila. I don't know. Anyway. I tried to be Aussie there. Anyway. I think she's a nice person, whatever. So I go up to her and I say, hey, hey, how you going? Whatever. My name's Anthony, whatever. I introduce myself. Sarah, especially if she doesn't think I'm good looking, I'm instant creep. If she thinks I'm good looking,
I don't think creep. That's mean.
What would you think?
I would think you're ugly. I don't want you to talk to me.
Sarah.
Interesting.
That is terrible. But do you see my point? Sarah.
Sarah.
It's a horrible thing to say.
Sarah, come on.
I thought that about me, which I'm sure you would. Like, I would be so gobsmacked. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, exactly.
Patriarch.
You're a stitch. No, but the point is, like, I had, just to use another example, eyewitness before, and a girl from my church said to me, she saw a guy who I'd met at previous eyewitnesses, and I thought he was top guy. Every time I spoke to him, he was a champion. Anyway, she goes to me, that guy. She's like, that guy's a weirdo or whatever. I don't know if she said creep or anyways to that effect. And I go, why? Every experience I've had with him has been positive. And then she goes, we were at this function last weekend, and he came up to me and he was like talking to me like he was interested in me or whatever. And I go,
A'udhu billah.
Yeah.
God forbid.
Yeah, I go, okay, yeah. Was he disrespectful? And then she's like, no. And I said, did he say anything out of line? Did you feel
threatened or
anything? Yeah. And she's like, no. And I go, what's the problem then?
He ugly.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is that you're not attracted to him, but there's no problem with him.
Yeah, this is interesting because I saw that video. If you want, I can. You can get those girls on. They're here in Sydney.
I've met them.
Yeah,
I know one of them.
Yeah, you can resolve it here on air, but I'm like
They're very nice, by the way.
No. We're talking about the
trashing on them.
No. I know. We're talking about the principle.
That's right.
I was a bit more confused with what he was saying in the video than what they were saying.
Yeah,
because he was like, oh, so you don't want a guy that just expects you to go up to him and do this, and I was like, I don't think any guy expects a girl to ask him out.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen.
Any real man at least.
Like, no. Unless they're at Mardi Gras on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's pretty accurate. Are we really gonna deny that? No. Words. Yeah.
Those like Instagram videos of like women proposing to their boyfriends. Oh my god. And like he says yes. And I'm like, what just happened here? I don't know who I'm more annoyed with,
I swear.
Like her, him, their parents, their ancestors, I don't know. Like, how far back does this go? Where did it go wrong? Who was dropped? Anyway. But look, I'm in sort of half a mind with this situation because not half a mind, like I half agree. Yeah. In that I do think men generally have become too fearful of rejection. Yeah. That again, we need to assess issues differently. We can't say, oh, we're like this because you're like this, but they're like this because you're like this. Like individually, what are the issues? I think men generally fear rejection too much. Yeah. I agree with them in that sense. And I think men can sometimes place too much emphasis on asking out a girl. Like, if you go and have a cup of coffee with this girl, it doesn't mean you're going to marry her. Just relax. Like, it's a bit of caffeine. It's okay. That's all. Like, it's a bit of caffeine. Get to know the person. And like, generally, when I did stuff at the youth and talks and stuff, and it was like, it's not that hard. Guys, if you see a girl, ask her out. Girls, like, unless you have a major problem, just say yes. What's the worst case scenario? The guy shouts you a coffee, like, get to know him. We're like, I'm saying it joking. I'm not suggesting you have to say yes to everyone or ask out everyone, but like, we don't need to overthink these things. Yeah. But then on the other hand, I think you're completely right in the sense, I've always made this, comparison. It's like a guy rocks up to your house in the middle of the night and he's flicking a pebble at your window. Is it romantic or is it creepy? And it just depends on one thing. Is she keen on him? That's it.
That's spot on.
If that guy from Eyewitness went to her house, she'd be like calling the cops, But if she was keen on, I don't know, Gerard over there, and Gerard rocked up, like, this is just a hypothetical. I don't think anyone wants anyone to rock up to the house, but you get what I mean, right? Yeah. And
it's the movie scene. It's the movie scene.
Sometimes, sorry?
I was saying, did you speak from experience?
No. No way.
That's throwing rocks through windows?
No. Imagine like looking out your front lawn at night and seeing me there. Hi, Amor. Hi, Amor. Is your daughter home? No way.
Why did you automatically assume that the girl you were after is Leb?
Wow.
That's bro.
I assumed that they speak Arabic. They don't have to be Lebanese. Fair. But you're right, yeah. Is this because I said that Leb's a racist on your brother's show and now you're pulling me up on it?
Yeah, now we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. We'll get into it, that's fine. I said what I said, you know what I mean?
I was in the back laughing. Yeah. I was like, I've never thought about this.
But it's almost like sometimes I question, is the issue that men don't walk up and, again, these two girls, beautiful girls, I've got nothing against them. We're talking about the principle, right?
Yeah.
And when lots of girls have said what they were saying, and I sometimes think, is the issue, guys don't just come up and just ask us out and see how it goes? Or is it the guys I'm interested in don't just come up and ask me out to see where it goes? Yeah. Because if it's really the former, then you shouldn't really have an issue with most guys, assuming there's a major red flag, like asking you out or something. Yeah. But if it's the second thing, then really it's not necessarily a man issue per se. Yeah. Like it's not the guy's responsibility that you're interested in to ask you out. That's not how it works. Like
Exactly.
we should each be discerning individually. So yeah, like it can seem like a bit of a 2D way to look at it. I think from their perspective. Like I said, his answer was a bit more confusing. I'm like, I don't know what happens in America, but here, I'm not seeing a bunch of like Catholic guys like, oh, I'm just going to wait for her to do it. Like,
yeah, that's right.
It's usually a little bit like, well, maybe they take their time and they want to sort of investigate, you know, I don't know why I'm doing this. They don't want to go straight to the source, you know. It's like they might ask their mate to speak to, you know, her sister and just see if, you know, she's like, you don't need to do all of that. You can just initiate something with them. And so it's almost like the issue is that the men that are approaching just don't have charisma. You know, like it's one thing. Be. Like imagine that's
an interesting take.
Yeah, because that's what it is. Like if they've never met them, right? If it's a guy that comes up and he's making her laugh, you know, he's really smooth and then he's like, you know, maybe we can one time. It's like, oh, why not? But if it's a guy that like rocks up, you know, he's you know, sort of breathing heavy. He's breathing heavy. Approaches her from the side, you know. He's like 4 inches from her face.
Yeah, fair.
You know?
That guy has
and
some work
what
to
do you
do
say we
sure.
go for a coffee? It's like, my mum will have to chaperone though, you know?
No, that guy definitely has some work to do. I get that, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it's like not all guys are like, you know, smooth. In modern terms, I believe they call it riz now.
Oh, gosh.
Separate from the word riz, which is... which is right. Yeah. We just need to clarify that. But like that's like we're already building this checklist, right? It's like, oh, he needs to be good looking, he needs to have charisma, he needs to be funny.
Yeah.
You know, he needs to be faithful, he needs to be intelligent, you know. And some of those things might exist there, but might not be apparent in the first time you meet or in a public setting or whatever. So yeah, that's why I say like I half agree with their comments, but then on the other half, I'm like, is it really, like, are you really that open to most people who approach? I'd be very curious.
Yeah. And
girls who share that opinion.
Yeah. And some of them might, like those girls that were in that video, maybe they are completely open to a guy coming up to them and saying hello. Like maybe they meant that.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you come up to us, we're going to be okay. But a lot of women aren't that way.
Yeah.
And it's not so much... Now, I agree with you fully that men have a problem nowadays with a fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to also get into because I think that's important to get into.
Yeah.
But I think that the main thing is not even the rejection. Not the main thing, sorry, but one of the things that will deter a man from walking up to a girl isn't necessarily the rejection. It's the thought that he's a creep, and then everyone in her friendship group now knows.
It's the cost of doing what he's about to do.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Like, it's not like the worst case scenario is she says no now. The worst case scenario is it's no, and now half the church.
Yeah.
Half the church is like, oh, this guy's creepy. He just sort of, he hits on every second girl. Sort of
exactly. Like even when I used to work in retail, I used to just go like your job is to go up to people. Hey, how you going? Can I help you with anything?
Yeah.
You know, whatever you do. But I would notice a lot of the time. I wouldn't say majority of the time by any means. I don't think it was the majority, but it was a lot. It was more than it should have been at least. I would go up to a girl and say, hey, how are you? And then she'd automatically, and like she's probably gone through some experiences, probably has wounds and things that I don't know about. And like fair. Like I'm not bagging her out. But what I'm saying is if you're of the attitude that you want more men to come up and talk to you, then you can't be having the attitude of the girls that I would say at work, hey, how are you? And they'd jump on the defensive straight away and they'd look at me like,
maybe she thought you were ugly.
Like, good. Oh, that was 100% the case. 100% the case.
Was
then I'd
this
be
a
like,
store that you worked at?
No, just walking through Bankstown.
They'd all get uncomfortable and then security would ask me to leave for some reason.
That's gold. Definitely the store I worked at.
Yeah.
And I'd just be like, do you need help with, like, I get annoyed instantly. I'll be like, do you need help with anything?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, thanks. Like, I'm like, all right, bro, like, get away. Like, I'm not trying to hit
Settle
on you.
down.
Relax.
Yeah.
And then that would make me second guess going up to any other girls in the shop to ask them if they need help. You know, like.
It's interesting because on one hand, like, and Sarah, you can extrapolate as our resident female expert here. I feel like this episode needed like a female counterpart. We're going to get berated for this, eh? Just like two guys sitting around talking about women.
Am I not considered a female counterpart?
Yeah, but like officially, like you're behind, like we need someone who, you know.
Do you want to come sit? Come sit.
No.
Yeah, jump on camera. Anyway, we're going to get to the men. Anyway, we're going to berate men. I'm going to berate men for all the women out there as well. So
yeah, that's right.
That's fine.
You and me both.
Yeah, 100%.
But the reason I'm so open, like, I thought for a second, should I go into this? Should I not? Because the ultimate goal of this podcast is to talk faith.
Yeah, 100%.
But this is a necessary.
100%.
These are practical things in our faith, man. You know.
At the end of the day, these conversations need to happen.
Exactly.
Can't avoid them. So
yeah, and also, we had a chastity speaker come and talk to our teens group last year, and he was a lot of what he was saying was really directed at the guys, like the boys, and what they need to do.
It seems to be the case with most chastity speakers, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. And I thought, like, for a long time, I thought maybe they understand in their experiences that this is how much they just need to go at the girls, and this is how much they need to go at the guys. For a long time, I thought that. Then one of the girls after the talk, I asked her how it was, and I always make a note to ask this girl how things went because she's so open and honest about it. So if she has a problem, she'll say it. And so I thought I'd ask her, see how she found it. And she said that she really liked it. Like, she loved the talk, but she goes, I just wish that he spoke more about what we girls need to do. Because it felt like he was saying the guys were the problem and they needed to do this. But she's like, I know that we can do things wrong. Like, this, I don't know how old she is. Sorry. But she's a teenage girl saying this. And I was so inspired by that because I was like,
yeah, it shows awesome, a real openness to want to grow in the faith.
Yeah, and humility to understand that, you know what, like, we're also part of the problem. Which is why I'm so openly, like, speaking about, like, girls get better at this, you know?
Yeah. Well, when Jason Everett came a few years ago to UCIT, and God bless him, I love Jason Everett's work. He does phenomenal stuff, especially in the US. And I'm not sure if it's a audience issue or not because he was speaking to university students in Sydney, but that talk was like 70% females at UCIT. And afterwards, I asked, you know, some of the girls, what do you think? It was amazing, so amazing, this and that. And 99% of the people buying books were female and they loved it, and Be Picky and Don't Settle signed in their books and whatever. And the guys all sort of walked out with their head down like, geez, man, we got a lot to do.
Yeah.
And my thing is always, look, if you're going to really berate one of the sexes, do it when they're on their own. Don't berate them in front of the other. And for guys, it was like the issue with men is like, you know, lust and this and this and this. And then the issue with women is they can just be so compassionate and loving that sometimes they... And I'm just like, hold on, brother. Hold on. If we're going to list issues with women, all right, too compassionate isn't in the top 50, you know? You know what I mean? Like, let's just be real. Like, don't just take women's biggest strengths and then just tell us the downside of them.
Yeah.
It's like saying a man's biggest weakness can be that, you know, in his leadership, sometimes, you know, he can become too rational and logical and sometimes he loses that sense of compassion. It's like, don't just take a positive and give us the flip side. Tell us really what's wrong with them. You know what I mean? We've been trying to work it out for a while. Like,
fair.
And we got to be, I think there's been a bit of an imbalance in how men and women are addressed in these areas. And it might just be that this is what works with like your high schoolers in the US. And I'm sure he's encouraged chastity in a lot of them. I'm not criticizing him overall. It's just those sorts of times are a bit off-putting because it's like, oh, if as a man, if I'm going to go to this chastity talk, I'm just going to get belted. And, you know, and the women will be just told that they have the dignity of 1,000 angels. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm what, you know?
Yeah.
But back what I was saying before is like, it feels like a lot of women say, oh, men need to be more clear and intentional. Is that a thing that women say? Like, guys aren't clear and intentional enough? But then if they're too clear and intentional, it's like he was very forward and hitting on me.
Yeah.
And it's like really the issue is the guys need to find the right balance between being clear and not being too forward.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like they're confusing or a creep.
Yes.
And that's like, we can't blame men for being like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? I'm not really sure how to go about it. So,
do you know what? This just popped in my head for the first time ever. So
raw thoughts, beautiful.
Yeah. We're so now. I'm a big advocate of men being clear, like with a woman, clear about his intentions, everything, you know. But from what you just said, it's like men aren't even clear on where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do yet. So how are they meant to, like, how do I put it? Sorry, it just came, like, it's literally just a raw thought, so I'm trying to word it properly. But how is a man expected to be clear with a woman, with his intentions for a woman and everything, when he's not even clear on how he should go about things himself because of that?
Yeah.
Because of that very fine line that he has to follow. Is like, you're right. It's like either creep or too forward, and he's like not clear at all, but now he's too clear and too forward, and so he's not even clear about himself and where he's at and what he's supposed to do. Yeah. But then he's expected to be clear for her, but he's not even clear for himself. Am I making sense?
No, I get what you're saying.
This is my raw thought, just based off of what you were saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It does make the dynamic a little bit hard. Like given the example you gave of like a guy approaching a girl, it's like he can approach, and if he approaches too strong, then hey, this guy's a bit creepy. Like he was very forward, and I've heard similar comments, by the way. Girls like, oh, that guy's a bit weird. What did he do? Oh, he was just like very forward, and it's like, was he rude or disrespectful? Did he make? No, it's just a bit much. It was a bit off-putting. It's like, okay, so he needs to tone it back, but not tone it back too much, because then he's just not being clear, and she's not sure how he really feels about her. And so basically, the message to all the men is, you need to up your charisma. You know, you need to get your Riz level up. You need to know the exact line between creepy and confusing, right? Yeah. The exact perfect level of directness, and you need to approach her at the right time. Good
That's
solution.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Yeah. And
very
be better
easy.
Looking. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, if you're ugly, it's
no chance. Just don't go up to a girl.
Yeah.
Give up.
Right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone who lacks common sense listening, please know that was all a joke. That part. But
look, we all have deformities.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
I was blessed genetically with what I call my Wi-Fi signal. It's genetic, man. Honestly, my whole family has like wrinkles in our head, and
Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, it's the Wi-Fi signal. Yeah,
you're a tripper.
We all have.
Is that something that people pick on?
No. I just every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, what the heck's wrong with my head? Then I look at my family. We all got it.
That is a strange thing.
Yeah,
I've never heard that. The lines in your head, they're a problem to you. You think what's wrong with?
Oh, I don't lose sleep over. I'm just saying we all have deformities.
Yeah, fair. I just wouldn't think of that as a deformity. Big nose, big forehead. What else can I?
At least your forehead's smooth.
I'm just kidding. Smooth forehead. To make that one of the boxes that you ticked, for your dream guy. Smooth forehead.
Oh yeah.
You should do like a series on teaching men how to approach women.
No.
There's no way Sarah ever thought about saying no to you.
I didn't even know he liked me until he asked me out.
Nice.
That's how it's done. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, but you didn't say no, did you, Sarah?
Absolutely not.
That was because of...
Who would say no to you?
I went home and cried.
I could think of a million reasons and a million girls who would have happily said no to me. No, I was Simon Carrington. You know Simon Carrington?
Mm.
He had a massive impact on me in my life in general.
Yeah, awesome.
With lots of things. But I found what he called his roadmap to dating, to getting to the first date. I found that really like logical. I just thought it makes sense, you know, and it was going to save me a lot of heartache, and it would save the girl that I liked a lot of heartache. And so it was things like getting to know them first in a group setting. Like, I'm a massive advocate of that. I'm not one to say, neither is Simon, just to put that out there, but I'm not one to say it's the only way to do things. But I'm a huge advocate for getting to know a girl or a guy that you like in a group setting. Mainly because, or for two reasons mainly. First is you get to know who they really are in a group setting around their family and their friends and things like that. Because a lot of the time, if they're not being themselves, they get called out. If they're trying to be like their perfect self, like a family member will go, what are you doing? That's not you. You do this or whatever, you know, like they get caught out on it a bit. So you get to know them. And then you also see like even things like, I always mention this, like the way someone talks to, like the way Sarah spoke to waiters and waitresses, for example, at restaurants when we go out as a group, like those things mattered to me because I was like, is she respectful? Is she not? Is she going to tell the waiters that my food's wrong for me because I don't want to do I'm kidding. No, but like, yeah, she actually does. But like those things, like, you know, are they respectful? Are they polite with everyone around them? How do they treat their family? How do they treat whatever? But then the second thing is also, if I then learn something about Sarah that makes me go, oh no, I don't want to ask her out anymore.
Yeah. Then
there's no burden on me.
Yeah.
To have to tell her, because we've been going out one-on-one, that look, I'm just gonna pull away, sort of thing. Yeah. You know, and it saves her a lot of heartache, and it saves me the burden of having to have that difficult conversation. Things like that. So, anyway, those are just things that, and Sarah was very open to that, and I would start conversations about those things. You know, those theology of the body and modesty and all that stuff. I would start those sorts of conversations around Sarah to see where she was at with those, to understand firstly whether she was someone I would, you know, I wanted to marry, and then also to see whether she was someone who was willing to accept someone as clear as what I intended to be.
Yeah. So you would start these conversations like a group setting. In
group settings. Around, yeah, when Sarah was around, and then hear what she had to say.
So you just randomly be like, so how many kids does everyone have?
Yeah.
How many babies does everyone want?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I'd like to think I was more subtle than that.
You are.
Yeah? All right, cool. I was getting pretty good at that, I think. And I'd like to think that I was pretty clear with Sarah as well, like at where we were at, sort of thing, and what I thought, and, you know, like, would you go out with me for lunch or whatever, and then completely fail and not get to where we were meant to get to, and then give her food poisoning because of the phony restaurant we had to stay and eat at. And then that's where I told her.
Did you get food poisoning on your first date?
Yeah, it was the biggest disaster ever, but it's a whole like 5-minute conversation. So
I have 5 minutes.
Look, this is advice I would give to a man.
You took her to some shady place.
It was
for the
meant
first
to
date.
take me. He messages me at 2 a.m. saying we're going Saki. Do you know Saki, the Japanese place?
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's like this fancy place in the rocks. I think I'd been there once or something, and I was like, damn, like, why is he going so fancy? And I messaged like, no, it's fine. Like, we'll go somewhere chill. He's like, no, I want to take you somewhere nice. So I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to like bathe me in riches.
He's got monies.
Anyway.
Right. Firstly.
He's a high roller.
Right. Biggest mistake ever. I had recently gotten my P's, right? Hadn't driven to the city. Had never driven to the...
You should have taken it to the Macca's car park.
Yeah.
That's where all the
If I had the chance, I would have done it. I would have done it now. If I had the chance to do it,
you guys started dating when you were like 19. When did you get your P's?
We started dating in 2020, so I was 19.
I was 20.
He was turning 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I had my piece for a bit, but
Yeah.
I hadn't driven to the city
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything yet.
Yeah,
But I was
yeah.
late in getting my piece. I think I was about 19 when I got my reds.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Which is pretty delayed, but anyway.
All right, so you guys were planning to go to Saki? is it
Saki,
called?
yeah. Bro, later I found out, okay, because I knew she liked sushi, so I thought, all right, well, I'll take her to sushi.
Because of your group investigations.
Exactly. Yes.
Very good.
Anyway, bro, it's like $300 for a meal. I was like, I'm never coming back here ever again. When we eventually got there later on in our relationship, I was like, what a waste of money.
So you didn't end up going to Saki?
Bro, I was like, Saki is on the rocks. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the rocks, in the rocks,
Yeah.
on the rocks. I don't know what you say.
Yeah.
We ended up on the Harbour Bridge.
Over
And
the
then-
Harbour Bridge.
Over the Harbour Bridge,
In
and we ended up in
Lane
Lane Cove.
And
I was-
he pulls over and he's dripping sweat. This is the first time I've been alone with him. Like, it was all.
It was so
And I don't
bad.
know what to do because I'm like, we haven't touched at all ever. So I'm like patting his shoulder, like, it's okay.
We haven't touched.
All right, like we kiss and hug, hello. Like,
I mean, yeah,
don't make
but
it sound like I stand there. Hello, how are you?
So wait. Let me just reframe what happened here.
Oh no!
Let me just reframe it.
Why,
So
why
you
am I
were-
being exposed in front of the whole world?
So you were getting to know Sarah in a group setting. And the group settings involved just randomly being like, so how many babies does everyone want? You know? Yeah.
Essentially,
And-
yes.
And what kind of clothes do you guys wear to mass, you know? And so you did that for a few months.
Yep.
And then you made your move. And then you said, hey, we're going to go Saki. I'm going to take you to a real nice place. And she's excited. Next thing you know, she's crossed the Harbour Bridge and she's like, Saki's that way. Saki's that way.
Yes.
While you're sweating profusely. Right, and then you pull off and you're sweating. And she's like, oh, what have I done?
You have set
And
the
she's
scene
like-
perfectly.
And she's like, there, Anthony. There, turns on her Find My location for her mum.
Right? I swear.
Starts
And I'm
texting
like-
her sister Christine, send help.
Literally. And I'm like, bro, I'm a sweater. I sweat. Okay, I stand in one spot and I sweat.
Yeah.
Now I'm freaking out. I'm nervous. I'm like, I've stuffed this up. I'm dripping sweat.
You couldn't just put your nav to go back to Saki, or was it going to
The
be?
nav
a
stuff- Stuff's up in the city, bro.
He
Oh.
doesn't know how to read
Sydney
the city
CBD.
roads.
No, Sydney CBD.
You blame the
maps-
nav, she blames you.
He still can't. He was meant to be in, where was it? Concord. He went to Campbelltown.
Wasn't even Cameron. That was Cabramatta. Yeah, that's my bad. That's only because I just. put
All
the
right,
wrong
so you're
address
on the
maps.
side of the
Anyway,
road.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You
then
pull
we
over.
look for the closest sushi place because we're like, we're not getting there to
I just wanted
Saki.
to be outside, honestly. I was like, get me out of here.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Anyway, we found a close place, parked in no stopping, got fined. Anyway, went down, and we went to this random sushi place. I don't know what it was called.
It was empty, but the food was good.
Food was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a chat, and then that's when I said to her, like I told her, whatever, that like I liked her and all that stuff.
Why are you getting awkward for?
I don't
It's
know. I
alright.
get awkward talking about this stuff. Anyway,
There's only 3 cameras. It's fine.
Sweet.
You
This
told
is
her
a
I like
disaster.
you and that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and that stuff,
No.
Anyway, and then we left. Anyway, she ended up getting food poisoning
Yep.
From the sushi place.
Yeah.
from that sushi place. But this is the advice that I would give to men: make your first date as disastrous as possible, so that the only way from there is up.
Hmm.
So every single time we've gone out now has been better than that experience
That's
for
true.
Sarah.
It was a good foreshadowing into your bad map reading skills.
Yeah, I'm actually bad at reading maps. But also, the map stuffs up in the city. It tells because
It does not.
it does. Anyway, yeah, it was a pretty disastrous first date. How did we get there anyway? Clarity and all that stuff. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so let's transition.
How about
Shall
you
we?
introduce your guest?
Bro, I haven't even done that yet.
Where's my
How long are we
introduction?
into this?
An
What
hour
are we,
and
2
a
hours?
half.
Hour and a half? Okay. An hour and a half in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to to the Against the Grain podcast. You do deserve a formal introduction. So what you've heard so far is just we're scratching the surface with our guest today, who is the host of the Francis Tamer Show. He is the man behind the Iron Project. I don't know what else. That's about it, really.
There's not much else.
Yeah, that's about it. Francis Tamer, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to Against.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be back.
I feel like so wrong doing this because we've spoken for so long. It was probably a messy conversation, mainly because of me. I have to be honest, but
no, it's fine.
It's going, you know.
Things need to be spoken about.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I think it's only right after having spoken about what we've spoken about for this long that we always speak about men's ministry on this podcast. It just happens that way that we've spoken about men's ministry with all different guests.
Yeah, we do need to berate the men a little bit after what happened the last hour and a half.
Yeah, because I think what needs to be done is a bit of correction where it's like men shouldn't be told off all the time. But women need to be told, you know, what needs to be fixed on their end. But that's not to say then, it's not to go to the other extreme where we were telling men off and women were off the hook. But now we're saying, no, women, you get told off and men are off the hook. There's balance in everything.
We need to attack both viciously.
Exactly. So, so let's get into men a little bit, shall we?
Yeah.
If I ask you, now maybe this is, I don't know if you've thought about this, if I'm putting you on the spot here, but
if you ask, I can tell you.
Yeah. Yes, I will get there eventually. Yeah. If I was to ask you what the main problem is that you see with men these days, what's that main problem?
I would say the main problem with men today is that we tend to choose pleasure over the difficult things we need to do in order to pursue virtue and truth, which is the definition of effeminacy. So I don't know if you've heard the term effeminate before. If you ask most people, what do you think effeminate means? They'll usually say to you, oh, it means they're feminine.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not what it means. It has nothing to do with that, actually. They might say it means they're soft, and that's a bit closer. Soft meaning malleable to the touch. When something's soft, it's malleable when it's touched or pushed.
Interesting.
And really what effeminacy is, as defined by St. Thomas Aquinas, is the desire to do pleasurable things instead of those that are difficult. Which is not too different from sloth, by the way. They're almost the same definition. The main difference being sloth is an aversion to hard things. Effeminacy is a desire for pleasurable things.
Okay.
You see? So if I was to sort of sum up what's the biggest issue with the masculine man today, or the man today, that's what it is. And when what's the sort of the virtue to oppose that vice? It's perseverance. You know, you need to persevere through the difficult things. When I was on that Lilies Among Thorns stream or video, that's when I did a lot of the prep for this topic around effeminacy. And like, I felt pretty bad after it because it was pretty self-implicating, you know. I was like, geez, man, like, I feel attacked. And sometimes we've got to be honest, like, hey, there's a lot more that I can do.
Yeah.
Because effeminacy can, like, an effeminate act can be as simple as sleeping in. You know, I'm going to sleep in.
Yeah,
I enjoy sleeping. I don't want to get up and work. Like, I could get up on a Saturday morning and, you know, wash my car, do some house chores and go to the gym. But no, it's Saturday, it's my day off. I want to sleep. I love to sleep. I love to sleep personally. Like, I sleep anywhere and everywhere. People send me photos of me sleeping in random locations. Quite odd. It's a bit concerning. Do that to a woman, see what happens to you. You know? Imagine that. Sarah, imagine
so
people would
good.
send you photos of you asleep. You'd be like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Police are called. Yeah. I get you.
But that's like effeminate acts can be so small.
Yeah.
And we do it a lot more than we're really, you know, willing to acknowledge. Again, back to what I said, it's in my interest to define being masculine as, you know, tall, beard, this and that.
Yeah. And
it's like, no, do you find yourself choosing pleasure over difficult things? Because if you do, that's what's really emasculating you, you know? And this goes for everyone, married men, single men, clergy. We really have to do those difficult things.
Yeah.
in order to build our character, strengthen our spiritual life, and pursue truth and goodness. So that's what I would say is the biggest issue currently. And it reflects on a lot of things. Like, at the end of the day, men are called, the other issue is accountability. Men just aren't accountable enough. You know, like, you can only blame your parents for so long. You can only blame the government for so long, or where you grew up, or all these things for so long. Eventually you have to take responsibility for the state in your life, the state of your life, I should say.
Yeah.
And focus on the things that are in your control. And so one of the biggest traits of the masculine man is he's accountable. He's accountable for himself. He's accountable for his wife. He's accountable for his children. He takes full responsibility. You know, the buck stops with him.
Yeah.
And there's that famous saying, like, a boy becomes a man when his father dies or something. And it's like, it doesn't mean when he literally dies. He can also die symbolically in that, you know, now the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
When all goes to hell, it stops with you. You know, obviously by the grace of God, you're going to be the one that's going to find a way out. You're not going to call daddy, you know. So yeah, accountability, or lack of accountability, and effeminacy, I think, and they're related as well, because when you're accountable, you don't make these effeminate decisions to choose pleasure. You know, you take accountability. No, I'm going to do the difficult things because I need to do the difficult things.
Yeah.
So they're very much related, but I would definitely say masculinity is very much rooted in accountability in that sense. Just being accountable for everything that's going on around you and for all the people around you as well.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I like the way you said that, because as soon as you described effeminacy and then used the example of sleeping in, even something as small as that, it just reminded me, like, like that's an issue that I can already see. Yeah, is like, I need to fix that in my life, you know?
We all do, yeah.
Yeah. And
this is why Lent is so important. This is why Exodus 90 is so good, and all these things. Like, what are we doing? We're training ourselves to deny the pleasures in order to do the difficult things.
Yes.
You know, that's what Lent is for.
Yeah.
What are the 3 things we're called to do in Lent?
Oh yeah, pray, fast, and alms give. Sorry,
I've always noticed on, like, podcasts and shows, if you put the question, this happens to me on my show, when I get asked the question, I just completely blank. I'm like, oh no, I wasn't expecting that.
I was like, I don't know. I just didn't know if it was one of those questions you were going to answer yourself. Or
No. When I do a talk at St. John's, I ask a question and then I'll literally state, this is not rhetorical, and then just wait. So,
fair.
But yeah, prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And it's like, why those 3 things? Not rhetorical. If you have an idea. Why specifically prayer, fasting, and almsgiving?
Well, I mean, what's going on in my head is, at least, that with fasting, it's a denial of self, denial of immediate pleasures and whatever, self-control, and being able to say no to the smaller things, so that we're able to say no to the greater things. I mean, I guess the same would be said for prayer, persevering in prayer, but also. Oh, sorry, I thought you were about to correct.
No, I was waiting for you to finish. Like I said, I could do awkward silence.
I thought you were about to correct me.
No.
Yeah, prayer. I would. I guess they all have. Now thinking about it, sorry, just so I'm not going all 3 separately. They all have a part of self-denial in them, and perseverance through the things that we don't want to do. Sorry, I know that's
no, that's fine. It's fine.
Gave the counter definition.
Let me put it this way: I wouldn't have an answer to this question if I didn't learn it off Brent Petrie, like a few years ago. Yeah, bro, like I said, nothing I say that makes sense is original. If I say something and you're like, this guy's munted, that's original. All right. If I say something, you're like, you know what, he's onto something. I've ripped it off. Okay, so you're just going off your head. It's fine. But let's rewind to Christ in the desert for 40 days. What were the 3 temptations, if you remember? The first was he was tempted to turn the stone into bread.
Yeah.
The second was he was taken to the top of a mountain or cliff and told to jump.
Yeah.
And surely you'll be able to levitate, prove that you're God. And the third was he was taken to the top of the mountain and shown all the kingdoms from the prince of this world, as Christ calls the devil. And it was offered to him to have, including those people. Christ was almost offered the souls of man without the cross, in a sense, right? Those three things, right, they all go back to Genesis. See, the first three sins of Eve was the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, known as the three concupiscence. Concupiscence is the inclination to sin.
Yeah.
Or the three lusts. So the lust of the flesh, right, which is the disordered desire for pleasure, which is turning stone to bread for Christ, which is combated by fasting. Then the lust of the eyes, which is the disordered desire for possession, which is showing him all the kingdoms and offering it to him, which is combated by almsgiving, which is to give rather than possess.
Wow.
And then the pride of life, which is Christ in the desert being shown to prove he is God, tempted to pride, which is combated through prayer. And an act of prayer is a submission to God.
Wow.
Rather than putting yourself in the place of God. So it's like Eve fell for those three. And they say that all sins come under one of those three, essentially, right? Eve committed those three. Christ in the desert beat those three. And then we are called, and in the Catechism, I believe it's verse 540. I only remember this because I did a talk last week on this, by the way. My memory isn't that great.
Like,
yeah.
Genius.
Yeah, I did a talk, like a pre-Lenten talk for St. John's. And I'm also doing a 7-part series every Thursday from 7 p.m. after Youth Mass at St. John the Beloved in preparation for death.
Good plug.
That's my plug.
Beautiful.
But then the church says in the Catechism, paragraph 540, we're called to unite ourselves with the mystery of Christ in the desert. So the Israelites were in the desert for how long after the Exodus?
40 years.
40 years. Anytime you see 40 in the Bible, it's a time of trial and purification. Noah, it rained for 40 days, I believe, etc. So they were in the desert for 40 years. Christ goes into the desert for 40 days as the new Israel, right? We are called to go into the desert with Christ for 40 days, where we are also tested, trialed, and purified. And then he finally conquers those three things on the cross. He's, in terms of the disordered desire for pleasure, he was quite literally tortured and killed. In terms of disordered desire for possession, or the lust of the eyes, he gave up everything, including his clothing, including his mother. Literally everything.
Wow.
See, so he conquered all three on the cross, and we're called to combat those three as well. And that's why we're called to prayer, to fasting, to almsgiving. That's why we need to do all three, to fight back against all three of those things,
Wow.
And that's the only way out, The only way out is through. We can't say, oh, I'm not going to go into the desert. No. We have to go through. If we want to get to the promised land, we have to go through the desert. And if we're going to go through the desert, we have to face these trials and purify ourselves in order to enter that promised land, so to speak. So it goes all the way back to Eve. And the interaction between Adam and Eve is really good. Father Ripperger talks about this a lot. And it's quite interesting because you were saying, what's the biggest problem with men, right? And we can look back at what happened on that fateful morning in the Garden of Eden. When everything changed. See, if it wasn't for what they did, you think we'd be having this conversation about problems with men and women? A podcast would just be like how great everything is.
So true.
Yeah.
Shame.
We can blame them.
But the argument can be made that someone else would have done it later.
Yeah, maybe. God's plan's always better, I guess.
I guess so.
May as well conquer the things that are going to become a problem for us. But what happened there? It's like Eve saw the fruit, lust of the eyes, and she desired it to consume it. And the pride of life, she wanted the knowledge of good and evil, right? She could be like God, or gods, the word actually is apparently. And And so that was her issue. But then she offers it. She offers it to Adam, right? Now, a few things have happened there. When she offers it to Adam, it's the first time she tries to control Adam. Now, this is Father Ripperger, who also derives it from the Church Fathers. So I can't really give the original sources of these interpretations.
Yeah.
If he's wrong, then I'm wrong. I'm happy to be. Okay. Let me just preface with that. Because after God finds out what's happened and he gives them both their punishments, the very last line for Eve is, "Your desire shall be for your husband." Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Well, Father Ripperger says that in the Hebrew, it can be interpreted as, "Your desire shall be to control your husband, but he will have dominion over you." And that was the first time when she offered him that apple or whatever fruit it was. Then they say it's a fig tree. I don't know. I don't know what fruit tree it was.
I've heard that, but
yeah,
it's the fruit. Whatever the fruit was.
Mishmish from the Dayak.
Mishmish is such a lem.
Mishmish. Mishmish. Apparently not all them say that. One time I said that, someone just laughed in my face. Like, what the hell are you saying? I'm like, mishmish. There's some other words for it, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Please.
But that was the first time when she offered the disastrous mishmish to him. Offered the fruit to him. That was like the first time she, sort of tried to control him in that sense.
Wow. Okay. I've never heard that.
Yeah. And we can talk about how that's still a recurring issue, but then we'd be going back to women. So let's stay on men for now, and then we'll come back to them.
Well, I've heard Deacon Harold did a talk on fatherhood a while ago, and he said he was talking about the fall, and he says, why do we call it the fall of Adam or the sin of Adam or whatever? Yeah. And he was speaking about, I guess, where men, it was a talk for men, so he was speaking to them about what the problem is and how to solve it, I guess. And he said, it's the fall of Adam because he, like men these days, the devil is attacking his family, so his wife and his children. And Adam, like men these days, is sat there and did nothing and said nothing to protect his family.
Correct.
And he said a real man stands in front and says, if you want to get to my family, you have to go through me.
Yeah.
And so Adam, as the head,
correct, yeah,
of his family,
is responsible.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the whole thing of accountability.
Yes.
So when she offers the fruit, what the church fathers say, again, according to Father Ripperger, I don't know the exact sources of the church fathers. So I'm quoting Father Ripperger here, not the church fathers directly.
Yep.
Okay, just to be clear. They say that a few things happen there. The first is he desires the pleasure of the fruit. We're talking about effeminacy here. He desires the pleasure of the fruit over the more difficult thing, which is to resist it, because God's told him not to. And he let the desire for the fruit override his faculty of reason, which should supersede it. He's the faculty, the desire of his flesh, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that they say is that he didn't want to be separated from his wife.
Yes.
Or upset his wife, so to speak, if we want to translate it to today's time. So it's like he was faced with a decision. Do I keep doing what God's told me to do, but I risk separating from my wife or upsetting my wife? Or do I go with her? And he rolled with her. And then when God comes and he says, where are you guys hiding? What's happened? What does Adam say to him? Do you remember?
No.
He says, the woman that you gave me the fruit to eat. Not only does he blame her, he blames God partially.
Yeah.
The woman that you gave me. Yeah, you gave me this woman. She gave me the fruit. Again, the whole accountability thing.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
No accountability.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And so you've got two things. You've got a woman who, the woman who succumbed to the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, and then influenced her husband to do so. And then you've got a husband who, without any accountability, also succumbed to those pleasures one of the biggest effeminate acts in history, you could argue, with no accountability, takes the fruit.
Wow.
And so the question, like the argument always is, whose fault is it? You know, like the argument, jokingly, I should say.
Yeah.
Because really, they were both cracked for what they did. You know what I mean? This is why I'll never be a theologian. Imagine my writings. For they were both cracked.
But they were both cracked.
We need to get that on a hoodie.
Francis Tamer.
Yeah. They'll be studying me in hundreds of years.
I think.
And be like, what's he saying?
It.
They'll be like, no, he was cracked. That's what they'll say. But it's like, whose fault is it? Because in the great debate, we have a question that the original sin is the sin of who? Adam or Eve? And at least half will say Eve. There is a sin of Eve, but original sin is the sin of Adam.
Yeah.
And there is fault on her, but ultimately it is his fault.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if men want to prance around and talk about how they're the head of the house and, you know, we're men of God, soldiers of Christ, you know, God forgives, I don't, whatever other sayings that they have now, you know.
Oh, gosh.
If you guys want to do that, you got to understand everything is your fault. Take full accountability.
Yeah.
Full accountability always in all matters relating to your family. Doesn't mean you do everything yourself. It means you make yourself accountable. When there's like a data leak with Optus, you know, they don't want to hear from the regional IT manager in Sydney. Who do they want to hear from?
From the big boss?
From the CEO. Imagine that, like the regional IT manager who's responsible for security. Like, who the hell? Even if it's his fault. Yeah. Even if he's the one that, like, you know, no. We want to speak to the big boss.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You got to take ownership. And so looking at the interaction between Adam and Eve is quite fruitful in that sense, because you start to see a lot of those things still exist today.
Yeah.
Women who are trying to, you know, whether explicitly or implicitly, trying to control their husbands, and men who don't take accountability and don't want to upset their wives, you know, which is another thing I said in one of my talks once. I said that, you know, sometimes women can weaponize the conjugal act and sometimes men give in to that. And really what it should be is, hey, what's the right thing to do here by God? And that's it.
Yeah.
And if a man takes his spiritual life seriously, he will understand that he doesn't only have to protect his wife from physical threats. Most importantly, he protects her from spiritual threats.
Yeah.
If you told a man, hey, next Wednesday, someone is coming to your house and they're going to harm your wife and your children, physically harm them, he'd be waiting on the front porch with an illegally purchased weapon ready to go. He's like, tonight I die. That's it. True?
Yeah, very true.
And he should until death protect them.
Yeah.
There are evil forces every single day coming for your family.
Yeah.
Literally every single day and night, they're coming for your wife and your children. What are you doing to protect them from that? All right, you're going to work and you're providing. That's great. That's a really good thing. It's a noble thing. But you also need to protect them spiritually. That's through prayer.
Yeah.
It's through your prayer life. Take full accountability.
Yeah.
You know, someone asked me the other day, they said, Francis, and I felt like they were trying to sort of, they already thought they knew what I was going to say, right?
Yeah.
They said, Francis, do you think a man should do the dishes? And I was like, what kind of question is this? You know, like, are we still having these conversations, you know? And I was like, look, let me rephrase. I was like, do you want a serious answer or a joking answer? She's like, no, I want your honest answer. I was like, okay. This was in like a group chat. And I said, the dishes are the complete responsibility of the man. And she's like, what? Are you sure? You know? And I said, yeah. And not only the dishes, everything in the house. Everything is his responsibility. That's it. But then, when I say it's his responsibility, it's like, okay, it's my job to ensure that this gets washed. Whether I wash it or we agree my wife's washing it or I get someone to come and wash it, it doesn't matter. It's going to get washed. If it doesn't get washed, it's on me ultimately. The buck stops with you.
Yeah.
You're the head of the house, right? You're the big dog.
Yeah.
They want to roll around like the big dogs here.
Yeah.
You know? These guys want to roll around with their fake Rolexes, all right? take the lead, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And so what really becomes, and again, this is a very traditional idea, like some people would probably, again, this is more Ripperger stuff, which some people find him a bit extreme. I've become quite fond of him, to be honest. But he says it becomes essentially an act of like a delegation and mutual understanding as to who's going to do what, you know? So it may well be that, my wife is responsible for housework. She might be a stay-at-home wife or a stay-at-home mum, and that's a part of her duty, and that's agreed and all good. But ultimately, everything is my responsibility. Ultimately, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But the problem is we speak about these things in an idealistic sense or a general sense, and then there's always someone, right? Well, what if one day, she was in a car accident and she broke her leg, and so now she can't. I'm like, what are you talking about? Obviously, we're not talking about if she's unconscious, she has to do the dishes or make dinner,
Yeah.
Like we can say things generally, and there are certain things that are assumed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right.
If I'm a loving husband in complete submission to the church and to God, and my wife is unwell or incapable for any reason to do the things that we've agreed she's going to do, then of course I'm going to find a way to get it done. Whether it's me getting it done or me getting someone to get it done, or it doesn't matter. This isn't a conversation.
Yeah.
You've got man in submission to God and woman in submission to man. And who in effect is woman in submission to? To God. Don't give me some weird scenario of how, she got stuck in traffic because there was a big accident on the M4 and she didn't make it home in time to make dinner. Okay, that happens, whatever. I would be a bit concerned if a man was like angry because there's no dinner because she was stuck in traffic.
Yeah. That's right.
Have you not heard of Uber Eats? You can literally go for a nap and wake up with food on your front door.
I swear, it's
One
true.
time I Uber Eats burgers. It was like 1 a.m. a few weeks ago. The Saturday night, I was like, it's cheap meal time. It was like 1 a.m. and then I Uber Eats Chubby Buns burgers in Penrith. And then I fall asleep on the couch. If I fall asleep, it's game over. Anthony, I woke up 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And I wasn't even sleeping properly. Like my neck was cracked. I woke up 6:30. I'm like, what's wrong with my neck? Check the time. I'm like, man, my burgers.
I love that you remembered your burgers.
Well, at first I thought, the first thought was, didn't I get burgers? Did I eat them? Did I not remember? Like I completely forgot. And I was like, no, I definitely didn't eat any burgers. And then I went out and they were still on the front porch. They were there for like 5.5 hours. No, I didn't touch them. I'm like, no. When I say I didn't touch them, I didn't eat them. But I'm like, I'm not going to eat these, man. They'd be sitting out. It was like one of those, nights that were a bit muggy, and I'm not risking it, bro. No, I'm not risking it, man. Like, I'm not risking.
I would have probably still eaten them. I'm not going to lie.
Well, considering you took her on your first date and she got food poisoning, it doesn't surprise me. Your standards aren't very high, bro, for like for food hygiene.
Set the bar low. Set
the bar very low.
Exceed expectation. No, fair.
Yeah, but look, that's I mean, it's a bit of a long-winded answer about like what the biggest issue is now. But when we look back at what Adam did, and then what Christ did, and then what we're being called to do by Christ through His church, the answer can't be clearer. We really need to fight back against these pleasures and it's so bad now. Like honestly, man, I struggle a lot with some of them. Between social media and emails and work, and I work in IT, I'm always on my computer and notification here, and I'm constantly having to come up with new ways to like suppress these things because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But that's the only way out.
Yeah.
Is we really have to get to a place where we're choosing the difficult things again and again and again.
Yeah.
For firstly, for our sake and our soul's sake, but then for the sake of our wife, our children, our families, our communities, our parishes, for the clergy. Every time we choose pleasure in that sense, instead of the difficult things that are going to lead us closer, it's just another day distracted.
Yeah.
You're
right. Yeah. I think like if you actually reflect on your days, it's the most depressing thing. Because you think, that was not a productive day. I wasted this amount of time, I didn't cooperate with God's grace here. I didn't cooperate with God's grace there. Whatever, like it's actually, you get to the end of the day and you go, exactly what you said, like what a waste of a day almost. And I was saying to Sarah, this past Saturday, I was saying to her that was probably the best day of my life. Like
in terms of productivity,
just in terms of everything,
yeah.
productivity, in like just genuine enjoyment, health, physical, spiritual health, everything, hobbies, like everything. It was just a great day. And
is it because you saw Father Ben on Saturday?
Partially.
Just a quick pivot. I've been hearing a lot of rumors that there's a big fallout between you guys, and you had a big fight.
You're a smart ass.
And so, like, how do you reconcile that with you guys spending Saturday together?
Do you know what? Father Ben and I, that was one of our main concerns.
I can imagine. I knew this was going to happen when like obviously his priorities change and stuff. I was like 100% people are going to think, and there's a new setting as well, so it's like he got kicked out, you know?
Yeah. I swear. It's a whole thing, and we were actually concerned about that, and now you had to bring it up, and now people are going to think there's genuinely something. Thank you.
Well, no, this is our chance to actually clarify that there isn't, you know, like.
Well, there is. No, I'm joking. I'm kidding. No, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. I love Father Ben with all my heart. Yeah. And I did see him on Saturday.
The contract that you offered him, he wanted 1.5 mil a year.
Yeah.
You guys are only offering $1 mil a year.
Yeah, that's right.
Plus he wanted the car as well.
Yeah, that's it. And then all the sponsorships and things for him would have taken time away from us.
Yeah.
Like, not worth it, you know, in the end.
Yeah.
So
you wanted the rights to the name Father Ben Saliba. The Archbishop refused. Yeah.
Oh man.
This is what our community is good at doing, man. Talking.
Yeah, exactly.
It can't just be as simple as he's got a new role. He's a priest first and foremost.
Yeah.
He can literally get moved, you know, to the other side of Australia, and that's that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, my concern is that this is my genuine concern, is that people listening are not able to decipher a joke from seriousness. And so I just want to clarify.
This is your chance to be clear.
Yeah, to be absolutely clear. There is no animosity between Father Ben and I. No, I did. How did you know I saw Father Ben on Saturday?
Because I spoke to Father Ben yesterday.
Oh, okay.
We were trying to tee up a time to catch up.
Nice.
And he mentioned that he was with you.
Yeah.
And then he also mentioned like something about how people have been thinking that there's some sort of issue.
Oh, did he say? Yeah. See, that was one of our concerns.
Yeah,
no one mentioned anything to me.
He was having a bit of a laugh about it.
Oh, okay. People are speaking to Father Ben about it, hey? Trying to see if I did something.
I don't know if they spoke to him about it. Look, I don't want to become the middleman in this. So.
I'm just kidding. I did see him on Saturday. He was actually... So the reason Saturday was the best day for me is because it was completely... Everything I did that day was completely intentional.
Mm.
And it was exactly what you're saying, like a man should do. It was just deciding to do things that I wasn't necessarily like bothered for. It wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do in the moment.
But it needed to be done.
Yeah. Like, or it was just better for me. Like, so it was first Saturday of the month. Wow, there we go. And at St. Christopher's Holsworthy, they do a rosary, men's rosary, at 6 o'clock in the morning. The night before, like I had a bit of a late night, whatever, I'm doing Exodus, I'm meant to get 8 hours of sleep. Instead I got 4, whatever. All right. So,
all right.
All right. Any of my fraternity listening, all right, you know it. They actually do know it. Anyway, whatever. So Saturday, I had to wake up. It was 6 a.m. rosary. I had to wake up at around, say, 5:15ish. And then leave by about 5:30 to get to Holsworthy on time. And ended up sleeping at about 1. So I set my alarms anyway, and then a couple of my alarms went off, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, I didn't get enough sleep. I'm tired, whatever. And then I was just laying in bed, and I go, no, I should get up. Like, I should just get up and go. This is good for me. It's like, it's starting my day off right. It's honoring Our Lady, first Saturday, whatever. Anyway, so I got up, went to Holsworthy, prayed that rosary. I hung out with the boys after, all the men that were there. They had a breakfast and whatever. And there was just something fulfilling about that. And I was like, okay, it's been a good start to the day. My initial plan was go back home and go to sleep. After that had been done, I was like, I was so full of energy. So then it was go on to the next thing. So I went to the park, you know, did sprint training, kicked some conversions or whatever. Like just was just a hobby of mine. Like I like to go, it's therapeutic for me. Go kick conversions and doing a bit of sprint training for physical exercise. Then it was just chilling with mum, and then it was going to confession and doing my holy hour and whatever. Like, and then Sarah threw a surprise boys' night birthday party thing for me. Thank you. And that's where I saw Father Ben's head was the first one I saw when I walked in the door.
When was your birthday?
My birthday was, it's on the, last Tuesday, 25th.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you, bro.
How old are you now?
25.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, quarter of a century. I feel a lot older, but, you know, not because of any wisdom or anything.
There's no rush.
My bad back and my bad knees.
Yeah, there's no rush. There's no rush.
No, but yeah, Sarah did that, and then it was just so it was a day just full of, like, I got to the end of the day, I did my nightly examine, and I went, that was a great day, and like my genuine prayer was, and this isn't to say I had a perfect day by any means, but my genuine prayer in that examine was, I can't think of a specific point where I didn't cooperate with God's grace that day. But if I did fail at any point, like, you know, my prayer was, I'm sorry, like, you know, help me be better or whatever. But those days are so good when they're just full of things that, like, I was tired. I could have napped. I wanted to nap.
They're fulfilling.
Didn't have to
That's
go.
what they are.
Yeah. Didn't have to
They're
go
all
to
things that are hard to do
things.
at first in some way, but you never regret doing them after.
Exactly.
You know? That's the biggest thing.
There's reward in them. But then you go, the next day you go and stuff
Isn't
up
it
again.
a shame how rare they are?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's right.
Like,
but
as men, we
on.
should be striving to have those days every day.
Yeah.
And that's hard, you know.
It is.
That's hard. But you see, herein lies the issue. That's the issue we have as men, is that there are too many temptations for pleasure around us, and we really need to be intentional.
Yeah.
It's not going to naturally just fall into place.
Yeah.
Where we're now doing the hard things and God's will. No. We have to be intentional. We need to be intentional about our prayer life, intentional about our training, intentional about our vocation. All of it needs to be with intent.
Yeah.
Which isn't easy, but that's why we depend on our Lord to do it. You know, it's not simply by our own merit that we do these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think women would agree, and maybe Sarah can give us some insight as well, but women would agree that there's nothing more off-putting than a man who indulges in pleasures in that way.
Yeah.
Because then you're just babysitting someone.
Yeah.
He sleeps in, and like, you don't want to have to remind him to go to work and remind him to do this and remind him to do that, and you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, extrapolate for us, Sarah.
On what part?
I don't know. We just spent half an hour talking about what's wrong with men.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah,
Do you
don't
agree?
want to be dating someone and feel like you have to still mother him. Like, obviously, as his girlfriend or wife or whatever, you don't want to feel like you have to take on a motherly role. Like, obviously, you care for them, but you also want to help them be a man, but like by their own merit. I don't want to have to babysit you and be like, hey, make sure you do this and then make sure you do that. And did you brush your teeth today? Like that kind of stuff. You want to know that, first of all, they're fine on their own. Like, you can leave them alone and they'll be alive when you come back to them. And then also it's like a foreshadowing on if they look after themselves and if they can act intentionally with themselves. If you're marrying them and you have a family with them, you know that they're going to act intentionally for your family and for yourself. You know, like I'd say I trust Anthony with everything because I let him lead because I know that he can handle himself, and I trust him to handle both of us together. I trust him to make the right decisions for us as a couple, and then when we get married, God willing, then for us as like a husband and wife, and then as our family with children, I just know that I can give everything to him and not have any doubts of, oh, do I have to like micromanage and make sure he can do this? Do I have to wear the pants in this time? Like, I don't want to wear pants. You wear the pants and I'll be the feminine energy of the relationship.
Says Sarah, she's wearing pants right now.
Yeah.
I like pants. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
But what were you reading off just now? Just heard the camera. This
The
is why
teleprompter.
she's got. Yeah, she was literally just
Joe
reading
Biden.
off her phone a prepared answer. No, that was a great answer.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how you said you don't want to have to micromanage, and that sort of desire to micromanage. What's that really the desire to do? Based off what we just said about Adam and Eve.
Control.
But then would you say that that's a response to effeminate men?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it might be, but sometimes it's not.
It's just the desire to control.
Yeah, sometimes. I'm not saying all women have a, I deliberately do that. I'm saying that's something that they wrestle with, letting go, surrendering, just trusting, like you said, trusting he'll take care of it, like your wife doesn't need to know the intimate details of every part of your day. You're handling it. Like, you'll share what you need to share and what you feel like, your wife, you still depend on her in many ways. But like, you don't need to, you share what you need to share.
Yeah.
Not because you have to recount every single thing and get input on every single thing sort of thing. And that's rooted in trust. If she doesn't trust you, it's going to become very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big thing. The whole submission thing is like, if you don't trust, how are you supposed to do it? How are you supposed to submit to someone you don't trust?
Yeah, true.
You got to trust. Like, no, he's got it under control. Like, I'm not here to make sure he's doing his job. Like, I know he's doing his job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
So in terms of that main issue with men is their effeminacy and lack of accountability. Do you think, like, where do women fall in that? Do you think that's something that women need to do as well, particularly in terms of denying their own pleasures and seeking virtue?
I think everyone needs to do it. I think men need to do it more.
For sure. Just to clarify, do you think it's a bigger problem with men, or you just think that men
it's a bigger problem
have a
with
bigger
men.
responsibility with it?
Both.
Yeah.
It's a bigger problem with men in that if they want to really fulfill their role as leader and head of the house and take full responsibility, they really have to overcome this vice of effeminacy because it is not easy. It's not easy for men to go out and be men in the true sense of the word. It's not about this whole macho facade that people want to put on. It doesn't mean anything. St. Joseph didn't say a word in scripture. Like, learn something from him.
Yeah.
Some heads have the loudest voices and don't stop talking. And I know what some listeners are thinking. Francis, you don't stop talking either. And to that I say, you subscribed, okay? But catch me at home. Trust me, I'm just kicking back, or I'm not saying much. But we should all take a page out of his book in that sense. Like, it's not about the things you go off and say and how you portray yourself. It's really about the virtue and how you lead and protect. Yeah, for sure. So, look, one thing I don't like, and I think we do it a little bit too much in our community, is there's a rhetoric that's said almost jokingly of, you're speaking to a married man and, let me talk to the boss, before he goes and asks his wife a question.
Yeah.
Now, let me just clarify. There is no issue. In fact, it's the right thing to do. Like, listen, let me check with my wife and I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
You need to make sure it's appropriate time, find out what issues your family's dealing with at that time. Look, it's not going to work out tonight. That's not a problem. You should consult with your wife in these matters. But when it's like, let me check with the wife. Oh, no, she prefers I don't. You know what? Like, there's a problem with that rhetoric for me. Is it creates a dynamic where she's almost your mother. Like, consult
like you're
with
checking for permission rather than...
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. That bothers me because it's like a half joke, but it's not. And it's become an acceptable way to joke.
Yeah, I see.
And there are people that will flat out say it, like, "Oh no, she's my wife." I'll give you an example. This one might ruffle a few feathers.
Oh no.
Why is it that some married men are only free to hang out if their wife has plans elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not a fan of that either.
What's with that? Now, I'm not saying a guy has to go hang out with the boys 3 times a week. It's not about that. But it's like, oh, hey boys, who's free? My wife is doing XYZ tonight.
Mm.
And it's like, and if she wasn't, we can't access you at all.
Yeah.
Like you've been dismissed for the night. You've been relieved of your duties. Like, you see, like there's
fair.
something weird
I
about
get
that. There's
Yeah.
something odd about that dynamic for me.
Yeah.
Now, it's not about saying to your wife, hey, listen, I'm going out. There's nothing you can do about it. That's not what I'm saying. You should consult with your wife on all things because your job is to make decisions that best serve the family.
Yeah.
Right? So most of the time, you don't even need to say, hey, I'm thinking of going out. Most of the time, it's you can see that your wife has had a very stressful day. The kids are giving her a hard time. One of your kids is teething and the other one's really sick. You're not even going to speak to your wife. You're just going to let your mates know, nah, look, tonight's not a good night for me. And that's it. You make the call, right? In support of what's the best for your wife, 100%. But when it's like you got to sort of go and ask her, you know, and promise her breakfast the next morning at her favorite brunch place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something odd about that dynamic.
Well, it's concerning. Like
To
that's
say
actually,
the least.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that fully.
Yeah.
And I think not to be the guy that's like trying to turn it the other way, but even if it was the other way, it's a concerning dynamic. Is like you're still individuals. Like, yes, you're married and yes, the two become one flesh and all that, but it's not in terms of you're one flesh. Everything you do is together. It's like you're still your own man. She's still her own woman. You still have your own sort of friendship groups and all that stuff. You can hang out together 90% of the time, but 10% of the time, it's good to just have time away, go hang out or whatever. And it's like, why are you laughing?
So I'm not laughing at you. Sorry, man. There's places we can go with this, but I don't think it's a good idea. Maybe we'll go those places off the air because this would really roll up. So I'm not ready for it. I'm not bothered for it. We can cut it. Maybe we'll just see where it goes.
Say it.
Yeah. Look, I understand. This is going to bother some people because I don't have kids. Okay, I don't have children. God bless. I have 8 nieces and nephews. My brother lived with me. I had 2 of my nieces living with me. One of my nieces shared a room with me for a year. She was a year old, and she was in a cot. I'm in a bed, and she's in a cot for a whole year. Right?
Yeah.
So like I'm not claiming to have the same experience as a parent.
Yeah.
But I've dabbled, you know.
Yeah.
I've woken up to a few times a baby staring at me. You know what I mean? It's like 6:30 in the morning. She's just looking at me. And I'm like, geez, man. Yeah. You know. And I've been asleep for like 3 hours because I used to stay up late. And I'm like, what do I do with this child now? And so I put her between me and the wall in bed and put one arm over her like she's, you know, just so I know if she moves.
Nice.
You know, and the next thing you know, her finger's up my nose. Like
You've had some experience.
A little bit. You know, I've woken up in the middle of the night. Like, honestly, God bless, like, her parents would be next door. Her mum would still wake up 99% of the time before me. Like, her mum's a beast.
Wow.
In terms of motherhood, 5 girls. The eldest is 5 years old now. Wow. And there's 5 of them.
Wow.
It's literally 5, 4, 3, 2.
Man.
Like 0.5 or something. Yeah.
0.5, sure.
Yeah.
That's our age, yeah.
Newborn.
God bless him, man. That's
so
awesome.
99% of the time, she was like, couldn't fault one thing this woman has done as a mother, right? But every now and then, I might wake up in the middle of the night, you know, give her a bottle or whatever and put her back to sleep. Very minimal experience. I'm not claiming to be a dad, okay?
Yeah.
You'll see why I'm prefacing like this. You'll see where I'm going with this, Sarah. I understand raising a child is not easy. It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. And I understand how exhausting it can be and how much of a struggle it can be. But what I don't understand, Anthony, is why 99% of... I understand there's special situations. Maybe a child has specific behavioral issues or whatever. Again, there's lots of exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking to a grown man and he is like unreachable and off limits between the hours of like 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. because they've got to bath one child and put them to sleep. Do you get what I'm saying?
Look, what I haven't had that experience, to be honest with you. However, it's quite clear that you've had that experience.
Look,
but I get what you're saying. I do. I understand.
I get it. You'll be like someone, look, even if you're organizing something that you would consider of importance, and I can't. We got to put the kid down. Firstly, when you say put the kid down, it doesn't sound right. It's like a monkey in a zoo that needs to be tranquilized. But I get the terminology, regardless.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there, but it's like,
no, I do understand that.
I think most of the time, on average, besides the exceptions, unless someone's ill, behavioral issues, whatever, like usually one parent can take care of business with one kid, most nights.
Yeah.
If it's not you, it's me, whatever, right? Not you and me. If it's not my wife, it's me, etc.
Yeah.
Just let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that.
Good clarification.
But it sort of goes to like sort of these, not to compare to like the village life, but you go back to like the village days and, women are having like 8, 9, 10 kids and they just make it work, Now it's like, no, it's bath time, all hands on deck.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you have one kid. You know what I mean? You have one kid.
I really sense the personal wound here.
No, it's not a wound.
Tell me about it.
I'm just trying to say it carefully because people
no.
get rolled up like you don't understand, and it's like I half do because like I take like my siblings who have children and I get it. It's hard work.
Yeah.
But like my brother has 5 under 5, or they were under 5. Now one of them's 5, and it's like now when it's bath time, it's 2 of them. Like my brother is like in the shower, like pumping out showers one by one. She's changing, like, there's the whole system, but there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
And even then, they get it done. 99% of the time, they're completely fine on their own.
Yeah.
They're fine on their own 100% of the time. Occasionally, if they need help, so be it. That's what family's for. But
yeah,
my point being is things are only as hard as we let them be in our head sometimes. And if we make a big deal out of things all the time, it's always going to feel and be perceived as ultra difficult.
Yeah.
That's sort of where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that is like some men just like need to step up and be like, listen, how are we like, what's the best way for us to manage our children and run our household? I got a friend of mine, him and his wife, he had a conversation with his wife and they both agreed, hey, look, generally speaking, only one of us needs to be doing they've got one kid. Only one of us needs to be putting him to sleep or bathing him, or we don't need to have both every single time. That's a ridiculous standard to have. Like, unless, again, there's an exception.
Yeah.
People get riled up by this because it's like, how dare he? He doesn't know the struggles of motherhood and fatherhood.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't, but like, again, it's just a matter of sort of observation. And look, to be fair, many married men share this sentiment with me. They've said like, no, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
I got a mate, he's got 5 kids now as well, same thing. He's like, no, there isn't this whole like every single thing both of us have to always do together. There are things that I'm doing, things that she's doing, things we help each other in.
Yeah. And
we agree on who's best suited to what.
Yeah.
But there does have to be a strong degree of trust. And look, if a man wants his wife to trust him, it helps when he's trustworthy. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
So like it would be good if I could say to my wife at 8 p.m, look, I've got to step out for an hour. I'll be back in a bit, okay? Yeah. It'd be good for her to say, yeah, no worries. And she just trusts that. But like when I'm not trustworthy and I've been involved in stuff in the past, and the last time I said that I was at the pokies, you can imagine it's going to be very difficult for her, So it goes both ways. But, that trust element's really important, I think, based off my observation from a distance. Did I give enough disclaimers there before I said what I said?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I actually, I don't have anything really to disagree on that. Like to say on that, to show another point of view. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, that's it. That's really all. I don't really have much else to say on that. I never thought about it, which is why I don't have much to say. about 2 hours after we finish this podcast, I'll think about something and go, oh.
Then we'll run it back again. It's not a problem.
Yeah, true.
But you see sometimes how like these little things happen in our lives or the lives of people around us, and most of us just don't pay attention. Yeah, I pay attention.
You'd be a good stand-up comedian.
A stand-up comedian?
Yeah. Because stand-up comedy is just based, not
like
just based.
Observational comedies type stuff.
Yeah. It's like you're just making these observations that not many other people would, you know?
Yeah,
you go a long way.
Well, I'm serious half the time. People think I'm joking. I'm like, nah, man. I mean it. I mean it, brother. Grow a set.
Fair.
Yeah? I mean every word.
Fair. All right, guys. Does your foot roll in like mine or maybe even roll out? Or do you just need general treatment for nail and skincare? For any problems with my feet, I go to MJ Podiatry. They're a mobile home visit network servicing all of Sydney, offering expert podiatry care for general treatments, sports injuries, custom orthotics, ingrown nails, and footwear advice, and offer NDIS and home care packaging. Visit mjpodiatry.com.au, call 0412 389 278, or email info@mjpodiatry.com.au to book your appointment today. Use code ATG10 for 10% off your treatment. In the spirit of doing things that we don't necessarily want to do, in pursuit of virtue, talk to me first about the Iron Project, what it is, and then tell me how's it been going.
Yeah,
you look good.
Oh, thank you.
You look much more toned, slimmed down.
Thank you.
You look like you'd.
Just a disclaimer: slim down doesn't mean slim. Yeah, just means slimmer. Yeah, just not slim. Yeah, a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. But yeah, look, the Iron Project was an initiative based on the scripture quote, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. And it was the idea that we do enough talking at our churches. And I'm the first one. You know, I'm doing talks all the time, and it's all well and good to talk about the faith and learn the faith and things like that, but we also need to do. We need to act. And as we've discussed, one of the best ways to grow in masculinity is to do difficult things, to grow in discipline, mental fortitude, physical strength, and conquer that which we fear, in a sense. No one wants to stand in a ring and get punched in the face, you know, and that's exactly why I'm doing it, because I really don't want to do it. Honestly speaking, that's what it was. And why martial arts? It was like, we're sort of called to be protectors, and it's very easy for men, again, to prance around and tell women how Catholic they need to be and how traditional they need to be, and I want a stay-at-home mum and she needs to know how to cook like my mum and all this other crap. And it's like, well, if she needs to know how to cook, then you need to learn how to fight.
I've heard you say this before.
Yeah.
Oh, is this what it was in reference to?
Yeah. A man who can't fight is like a woman who can't cook.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah. And the difference is, like, a woman will get found, like, you know, literally in 2 hours when she makes her first meal. Most men can go their whole life dodging fights. Not to say we should seek them, but it's not something you get pulled up on often, you know. And so I think it's something we can learn. It teaches you self-discipline again. It teaches you self-control. It teaches you how to protect yourself and protect your family. And it's a mental challenge, man. It very much is very challenging to do. In terms of how it's going, it's been going. Oh, sorry, I should say the idea is that I'm documenting my journey from a complete beginner to actually fighting at the end of the year in an actual sanctioned amateur boxing bout.
Nice.
So that's the plan, and yeah, it's going okay. Progress. Maybe I'm hard on myself, but I do think I can progress a little bit more. I think I need to do a little bit more outside the gym, for sure. I've sustained a number of injuries that you wouldn't expect to sustain. So like one of the very first sessions, we were training core, and my mind can go further than my body usually can. And so we're doing these like ab wheel things, and I'm just like, Francis, you know, don't be a little, you know what, don't be a this, don't be a that, just keep going, keep going. That was on the Monday. Tuesday, I'm like extremely sore. Wednesday, we train core again, and I'm just like, pain is in the mind, keep going. By Thursday, I can't actually stand straight. Like, I couldn't even sit straight. So I'd be driving and I'm like this. you know, because like I couldn't extend my
Oh my
abdominals out.
gosh.
And yeah, Friday, Saturday was the same. Like I remember that Thursday night I went to adoration and I was literally like hunched the whole time. Like I actually couldn't. That's how sore everything was. I couldn't even tell you where. It's just like my whole torso. It was fried. Yeah.
Did it feel like just like aggravated muscle pain, or did it feel like you did something worse?
You know how you get DOMS, like delayed onset muscle syndrome, like when you train your legs and your legs are sore, you train your arms are sore.
Yeah.
It was like that, but
Yeah.
times like it was bad.
Okay, got you. Yeah, yeah.
It was really, really bad.
All right.
But I just thought it was DOMS at that point. Friday, and then we got to Saturday. And then Sunday, I sort of started to notice something a bit odd. I was like, it's still sore. It's getting a little bit better. It's still sore, but something's not right. I noticed like a bit of a bulge on one side. And I was like, did I just get a hernia? You know? So I got a mate of mine, a doctor, Chris Pinto, God bless him. I call him. I was like, man, what's going on? I got like a bulge. He's like, oh, based on what you're describing, it sounds like a hernia. You know, lay down, try and push it back in, give me all the tests. I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a hernia. And then I booked in to go see him. But no, he doesn't work Monday, so I booked in with a local doctor near me at the time. And then by Monday morning, I realized the bulge wasn't just here. I was bulging everywhere. Right? By Tuesday, I had a conference in the city. By Tuesday, it looked like I'd gained 20 kilos just in my torso.
Are you serious?
Like I was bold, like I was hanging out, like it wasn't normal. Like I would walk and I'm jiggling. I've never jiggled in my life. Not like that anyway, you know? It was bad.
What?
And now I'm freaking out. I'm like, something's not right. Like it was everywhere. Like I could barely like I'd lean over to tie my shoe. I'm like, why is my gut in the way? This has never happened in my life. So I was literally just bulging everywhere.
What was it like? Like soft? Like was it liquidy? Like I don't know how to.
Was it squishy?
I don't know how to.
Was it squishy?
Squishy? Yeah.
Some parts it was. Some parts it was a bit harder.
Harder.
Oh yuck! Stop it.
But then what I noticed as well, by Tuesday night, my ultrasound was booked for the Wednesday. By Tuesday night, I had massive stretch marks on the side. Like it was very clearly something wrong. Like literal, I've still got them, stretch marks down the side.
Are they
And I was
big?
like, sorry?
Are they big?
The stretch marks?
Yeah.
It's like stretch marks.
What?
Like it's like I was expanding. And at the same time, I'm like putting on weight very fast. But like I'm not really eating that much.
What the?
So I made a mistake, man. I started researching.
Oh, no.
WebMD.
I started researching. And all these things being suggested. And at first I'm like, did I do something to my abs? And now like my abs are all like separated or something. Like I was trying to... Anyway, I do this ultrasound. And the woman doing the ultrasound, she's like, look, I'm not seeing a hernia because that's what he was checking for. But it looks like you've got fluid building up everywhere. And I was like, oh, thank God, it's not a hernia. I don't need surgery. Then on the way back, I call, and now we're waiting for the report, the official radiologist report. And I call Chris. I'm like, Chris, good news, man. She just said it's like edema. It's like fluid.
Good news.
He's like, yeah, now I'm worried. He goes, if that fluid is internal, then we got a major problem. If it's just subcutaneous, like under the skin, that's okay. But if it's internal, there's a major problem. It's called ascites, and then I go home and I start Googling these terms.
Oh, no.
Ascites is 80% of the time caused by cirrhosis, which is liver failure, and this and that. And I'm like, bro, when am I going to get a liver now? You know? And he warned me. He warned me, Francis, don't Google anything. Just wait for the report. He just kept saying, God bless him. He's a great doctor, Chris. He goes, wait for the report, wait for the report. And now I'm Googling liver failure. And I'm just like, man, it's all over. You know, my boxing career, I need a liver now.
Your
Anyway.
boxing career. Bro, you're thinking you have liver failure and you're like, my boxing career.
And then I message Chris. I'm like, look, no more Googling from me. We'll just wait. The report comes through. One of the things that had came across was this thing called diastasis recti. And I wasn't sure if that's what I had because it didn't really explain all of the fluid. But then when the ultrasound came through, it said I have like edema. It's like an inflammatory response. You know, you sprain your ankle and it swells up. It's like that, but like literally my whole torso.
Okay.
So it was subcutaneous, which means nothing to worry about. Like it'll drain out.
Yeah.
But I also had diastasis recti, which is like a separation of the abdominals in the middle, like maybe 2.5 centimeters.
Oh.
Now it's very rare in men my age. It's most common. Bro, it gets worse. Guess where it's most common? If it's rare in men my age, what do you think it's most common in?
Women.
Pregnant women.
But
Almost everyone that I know that's had a baby, when I'm like, I got diastasis recti, I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. I had it too. Bro, I didn't even have a man injury. Right?
I was about to say old men. Like, surely that's
No.
pregnant women.
Pregnant women. My sister got it.
Are you serious?
Pretty sure my sister-in-law did it. Like, they all get it. It's very common in pregnant women. They give you exercises, you know.
Well, this actually like qualifies you to speak about what we've spoken about all podcast. Just
I'm allowed to speak about women's issues now.
yeah.
That's what I said. I know what it's like to be pregnant.
If women aren't already annoyed at you,
as long as I don't know where your studio is, bro, because they'd be out with pitchforks.
Oh my gosh, I'm innocent. I didn't say it anyway. Yes.
And then over the coming days, there was like one night where I woke up like 4 times, you know, to go to the bathroom. I just like you just literally drain it all out. You just pee it all out.
Oh, yeah.
Your kidney like drains it, and like I just started losing weight again. Like I put on all this water weight.
Wait, do you have photos?
Of what I looked like?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Off
Yeah.
camera.
It's no, I'm not showing it on camera. No way. I mean,
I said off camera.
Oh,
it'd be traumatizing for me to see it again, let alone. It looked really bad, man.
Oh.
You know what? Let me see if I've got it here. But yeah, so I've had some weird injuries.
Ew.
I've also got like a tendinopathy in like my right groin, which has been there for like 4 months.
What's that?
Tendinopathy. It's like a tendon strain, and they take
okay.
a long time because tendons don't get a lot of blood flow.
Yeah.
They take ages to heal. And last week I did an MRI on my hand because I've had a lot of pain in my thumb for a few years. I think it's like a repetitive strain injury from using a mouse.
Is that genuinely what it's
Don't laugh. It's a real injury. No, if you do anything where your
sorry.
hand is in like the same position all the time, it's not because it's difficult. It's
No,
it's just repetitive.
I
that's
get
all.
you. Yeah.
It's quite common as well. Like people get it in their wrists because they're typing. Like my wrists always crack. Because,
Yuck, bro. What is that?
yeah.
Oh, that's
and I'm
filthy.
pretty sure it's because I'm always like this.
Oh.
I only realized this recently. I should probably switch to like a ergonomic keyboard. But I did an MRI on my thumb because it got worse after boxing. But it turns out it's not really a tendon thing. I've got like a bone bruising here on the joint. So every time I punch, like I feel it. And now I have a lot of pain in my thumb all the time. And the only way is like if I stop boxing and put a splint on it for like 3 months.
Are you serious?
Which isn't happening. No, look, it's not like I can't do anything with it. Like it still works, but
yeah.
I do feel
It's
it.
constant pain.
Every now and then someone will come and like dap me up and like hit my thumb, and it's like excruciatingly painful.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you planning on fixing these issues after?
I love you, we need to get through the fight.
Celeb. Oh my gosh.
I got the fight. No, it's fine. Like the groin
After the
thing's
fight,
fine.
after the fight.
The abs like is just like there's ab training that I do. It's fine now. The thumb is probably the main thing that's like a little bit annoying. But yeah, it's I wish I just got more manly injuries, you know. Diastasis recti. Google it, Sarah. It's just going to come with all this pregnant woman stuff.
Great things. That is one of the great stories, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're all right now. I'd rather, you know what? I would rather you have pregnant woman injuries than liver failure.
All the photos of
I'll take it. Yeah, well, what are all the photos?
all the photos.
A pregnant woman.
Pregnant women.
See?
Oh, man.
And it's like you got to go to a dark place on the internet to find solutions, like for men. You know, I'm on Reddit forums for like pregnant women and stuff. I'm like, no, show me where all the Regel are that get it. You know,
Bro, I would love to know the statistics of men that get whatever it's called.
That's so true.
Look how bad this is.
Oh my gosh.
Wait.
Sorry. Is that all just fluid building around?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You look like you ate too many burgers.
Way too many burgers. Now look, I'm not exactly a supermodel, but that's bad, man.
Bro.
Yeah.
That's I just heard what you said. That's was it painful or just uncomfortable or
It was very uncomfortable. The fluid part was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like it just
the
just
pain
didn't
obviously
feel right. Just imagine you woke up tomorrow and you'd gain 20 kilos.
Oh.
I honestly
When
feel
I
like
was
I've experienced that.
127 kilos at my biggest last year, training and eating a lot or whatever, I didn't look like that. Like it was
That's
bad.
insane.
Yeah, like my belly button became Asian. That's how much it like stretched outwards. What?
That's terrible.
It was bad, man. I'm just
That
saying
is
how
terrible.
it is.
Oh my
No shame. And
gosh.
look, the whole premise of my channel is I try and be as authentic as possible, right?
I'm glad.
On my podcast, I don't pretend like I know things that I don't know.
Yeah.
I sat with Andrew Wood for 3 hours looking confused because I was.
Fair.
And a lot of people appreciate that. But the same with this. Like, I'm not going to act like people got to see how uncle I am. People are going to see that I have, it's very difficult to take up boxing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a big learning curve, but I show people everything. Like, yeah, I'm injured. I've got these injuries and whatever. It happens.
Yeah.
God has a way of humbling all of us.
Amen.
What did you find, Sarah?
It actually says that 45% of women get it and 43% of men. So it's equal.
How old are men when they get it?
43% of all men get this thing. Is that what the stat is?
Okay. Another one says 10 to 30% of men who are overweight or engage in heavy lifting or intense physical activities. How old?
Anyway, so me being me,
Yeah.
I had to find a way. How do I frame this injury to still sound like a Rogel, I got to, because me, that's what I do. I spin things. I got to spin the
Nice.
situation.
Yeah, beautiful.
So when people said what happened, I said, listen, I trained with such intensity and such ferociousness that I split my body down the middle like the Red Sea. Sounds better than diastasis recti. You know what I mean?
In men over 30 or 40.
Control your own narrative,
Men
bro.
over 30 or 40, yeah.
Oh, fair. Okay.
Yeah, so like I've got to
Doesn't
control
make
the
it as
narrative,
funny.
and I think I've been doing that well. When people
Yeah.
say what happened, I just talk about how like I have like a Kobe Bryant mind. I just kept going
Yeah.
until I split, and always say like the Red Sea because then it becomes biblical.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I like that, bro. Well done.
But no, it's been fun.
Control your
It's
narrative.
good. I highly recommend anyone try it, both men and women. We have women come to the gym as well. We've probably had over 15 guys start boxing on the back of the Iron Project.
Nice.
Just like
well done, man.
people that have always wanted to try it, and most men are just like, oh, I've always wanted to try it. It's like, yeah, come try it. Don't
Yeah.
wait.
It's become realistic since you've done it. Like things that men go, hey, it's actually something I can do.
And that's the whole
including
point.
myself.
Is like I'm nothing special. I'm just another guy,
Yeah.
and I'm no natural boxer. No one's really a natural boxer. Yeah, some people pick it up quicker than others, but it's a very awkward sport to pick up at first.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole idea is, look, I'm just like you. Yeah, I'm getting injured. I'm getting belted, and I'm learning. I'm getting fitter. Like, just come along for the ride. You don't have to fight as well. Like, you can just train. You can even never head spar if you want. You don't have to.
Fair. The way you're progressing, do you think you'll be ready to fight?
I don't
and
think it
win
matters
in
whether I
October?
think I'm ready or not. We're getting in that
You're
ring.
going to anyway.
We're getting in that ring. No, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, we'll pick up the pace a little bit, but yeah, we'll be okay.
Nice.
We're going to make a big push, and at the end of the day, there's no shame in getting in that ring and getting laid out. Doesn't matter. As long as I put in all my effort and prepared, no legitimate person who's stepped foot in a ring looks down on someone who loses a fight. Boxing, MMA, whatever. Because it takes a lot to even set foot in there. Like, you have to respect anyone who's willing to set foot in there.
Yeah,
And that's the respect that I want. That that I did it, even if I lose or whatever. It doesn't matter to me.
Nice.
Obviously, I'd like to win.
Yeah.
It would help. But the good thing is,
attitude.
whether I win or lose, if I win, there's plenty of people that want to see me win. But if I lose, there's even more that would love to see me get my head kicked in. Especially after this episode, to be honest. You know, so like someone will win. You know,
Yeah,
someone will win.
beautiful. No, I appreciate having the really uncensored discussion.
Yeah.
It's been good because you're right. People need to hear it, and I like that. That's what your intention is with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Especially with the social media stuff and whatever. It's talking about things that people just find taboo, almost like.
We need to remove the taboos. It's that simple. Like there's so much that seems to be off limits.
Yeah.
Whether or not we talk about it doesn't change that it's there. So let's talk about it. You know.
Yeah.
I'm happy for people to disagree with me. I'm happy for people to challenge me. It's not a problem. And I don't claim to be right about everything. I was jokingly going to get some merch done, a hoodie that says I'm infallible on it, just to roll people up. But the reason why I want to get it is because I'm going to claim I'm only saying what the church says, and the church is infallible anyway.
Ah, nice.
So yeah, I'm a bit of a sneak sometimes, and I say I'm never wrong and whatever. But really, it's not like I don't claim to be some expert. I don't claim to be a theologian or a philosopher.
Yeah.
I don't claim to be particularly educated in any particular area. I'm just someone who loves the faith, and I love sharing it. You know, and I love bringing it down to earth to people, your everyday people, to experience.
Yeah.
Like what do most people want, Anthony? Most people just want to be happy and be at peace and live their life. And there's a place for the academic stuff and the scholastic stuff, 100%. And it trickles down through everything we do. But your average person doesn't really need a 3-part series on the progression of Trinitarian theology between St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas. There's a place for that for sure. No disrespect at all. That's needed. There's a place for apologetics, and there's a place for theology and philosophy at the deepest levels.
Yeah.
But where do we start? Your average person's like, man, me and my brother aren't talking right now. You know, I don't know why. I feel unfulfilled. I don't know why I can't find a wife. I don't know why I can't do this. I feel like, my job, I spend too much time working. Like just all these things. I feel like I get angry too easily. Like there are very fundamental issues that people are dealing with. And those are the things that I focus on.
Nice.
You know, so I don't claim to be some expert. But we need to speak about it. We need to speak about what's happening and encourage the dialogue.
For sure. I love that you're doing that, man. And I think, I'm going to kind of start to wrap up, if that's okay. Sorry, I have Oztag.
No, that's all right.
I got to get to, but...
What time's your Oztag?
9.
Oh, you got to wrap up soon, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing it well. It's awesome. All the content that I see on on Instagram is so good. But I agree completely. I agree that people need to be met where they are, and not necessarily called to come up to intellectual status immediately.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I do want to, though, before we wrap up, if you don't mind, I thought it would only be right, because it's still kind of fresh, that we just quickly talk a little bit about Gadi, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Because I know that was massive on, like, you had it over your social media as well, and that was something that, like, people can hate you, people can hate your content or whatever, and they can complain about, the things that you want to talk about. But in the end, things like this they remind people that we're humans. We go through suffering, we go through, all the tough times like anyone else would. And like that was a massive loss in your life. I don't want to speak for you, but quite evidently it was.
Yeah, 100%.
And I want to say this, and then I'll let you finish off. Just whatever you want to say about the experience, obviously about Gadi himself. But I didn't know him that well. I would see him at like Sarah's family events, and then we'd say hi. We had like a few short conversations, And the first time I met him, he was my small group leader at Eyewitness. And I don't know, there was just something about him that was like, he almost, and I'm not just saying this, like he just had an impact. Like the way I would even see him speak to other people, I was like, he was just a genuine loving guy, you know? And then when Sarah called me and told me that he'd passed away, I was just in shock. And I, who didn't even know him that well, I was like devastated. Because I was like, I know that he was just a gentleman, man. He was such a genuine guy, like a genuine man of God. And I could see that. So from someone who didn't even know him that well, I was like so affected by his passing. I thought I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why, to be honest. He had such an impact, and his passing had such an impact on me. I couldn't tell you exactly why yet, but I thought, yeah, I'd just finish off just with I guess a word on him. That's all I'll say on him. But how was the?
What's your question exactly?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Forgot the question.
No, that's okay.
What's it? So what was the like? It's gonna sound like it was like a roller coaster, I guess. But what was the experience like finding out that someone so close to you at such a young age, had passed away, and then how do you deal with that sort of loss? Like as someone who comes across as so joyful and so, with such a positive like outlook on life, and you have such a good sense of humor and everything like that.
I come across as joyful?
Yeah.
You?
I'll take it.
There we go. See?
I'll take it.
But how was that experience of loss for you?
Look, it's a very good question, man. Look, it's shock is almost an understatement sometimes, you know. It's almost like the brain refuses to accept it. So when you first find out, it sort of hits you like in waves. Like 1 second it like really hits you, and then for the next hour it's as if it didn't happen. And it's almost like your brain is turning on and off that part that recognizes what's happened, just so that you don't end up having a complete and, you know, utter meltdown sort of thing. It was very difficult, man. And that whole first day, or that night, because I sort of found out it was like 3 or 4 a.m. So that sort of whole night, I mean, finding out at night is hard enough, to be honest. You know, you're like barely awake, and you find something out, and you're like, "What do you mean?" Like, and I was just with him the night before, you know. So like, I had dinner with him that night, and it's like, "What do you mean he's gone?" I was just with him a few hours ago.
Yeah,
like, I just dropped him off. We just said bye. We just said we're gonna, you know, we'll talk soon. That was literally his last word to me, by the way. We'll talk. Yeah, it's something you don't really sort of comprehend, and it hits you in waves, and you're challenged very quickly in trying to maintain. Look, when everyone grieves differently and everyone reacts differently, and for me, it was very important to me that I remain true to what I believe is the right way to act and treat others. Like, yeah, there are times of vulnerability and whatnot, but I didn't want it to become an excuse for me to lash out at people. I didn't want it to become an excuse for me to turn on God. And there are definitely some challenging questions for God in those times, but I think the thing that helped the most is really taking it to prayer and making very intentional statements to God that you trust Him. I trust your plan. I trust why you've allowed this to happen. I trust Him in your hands, and I trust your plan for me. And that's something you have to just repeat, because it wavers. No one's perfect. There were a lot of times, especially when you're in your own head, you might question what's happened, but I think ultimately I knew in my heart that if I was to round up all the boys and, you know, choose one that had to go first, it probably would have been him. Just knowing the kind of man he is, you know. He went to Mass that morning. He received our Lord that morning. He went to confession regularly. You know, he went to work that day, came back. We had teens, the thing he loved the most, which was teaching the faith. I taught the lesson that time. We went for a feed. And it's important to recognize, like, Reddy was a phenomenal person, right, in so many ways. But he was a human just like us, you know. There were lots of little things that he would do that would annoy me or annoy his brother or annoy whoever. And there were lots of times we'd have disagreements or arguments, and there's no claim to his perfection, right? The only claim that there is that he genuinely loved our Lord, you know, and he just fought the battle like we're all fighting, you know. And there's that quote by Fulton Sheen, which I put in that video that I posted on my Instagram, which is, "It doesn't take much time to become a saint, only much love." And I was like, that's the perfect sort of quote. But it's sort of the series that I'm doing at St. John's this year for Lent is preparation for death. And a big part of it is on the back of what happened. Like, at any time, it's over. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a rough thought. Like, literally, you get the phone call and that's it. There's no, like, one last word. There's no one more time to tell him this or tell him that. Like, it's over. Now you're on your own to deal with it. You know, and sometimes I think in our community we speak about death, or we refuse to speak about death because we think if we don't talk about it, it's not going to happen. You know, I always joke about it in my family, and some of my family members are like, "Oh, you know, don't talk about that. Don't joke like that." And it's like, but whether I joke or not, is it possible? You know, there was one time I was going to do a talk, and I don't know what I said to my mum or something. This is going to sound harsh. Everyone's going to be like, "Parents, you're slack," but it's just how I joke. Like, she knows I'm sick, but I was just like, "Mum, if I don't make it home, X, Y, Z," you know. My mum's learned to. My brother was like, "Francis, why are you doing that?" I'll say, "Dom, is there any chance I don't make it home tonight?" And he just looked at me. He's like, "Yeah." Okay, that's it. I said, well, like, when we accept death as a reality, we can actually live more joyfully, not less. Because now we don't live in fear anymore. We don't fear that our life is going to be over. We actually learn that we have to live our life properly. Yeah. You know? And it changed very much the way that I speak to a lot of my mates now, you know, in the sense like every now and then, let your mate know you love them, you know. And it doesn't have to be in some weird sass, like, you know, sissy way, you know, look deep in their eyes. Might just be when you say bye, it's like, "Hey, drive safe, man. Love you, bro." And send them off knowing that very thing, you know. And it also reminds us, like, we sometimes, like, get caught up on some really small things in our life. Like I said, 1 second you're with him, next second it's all over. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, what really matters? Like, what would I do to have one more meal with him? You know, yeah. What would I talk about with him if I had one more meal? I wouldn't be talking about all this petty stuff, you know. We'd want to talk about things that matter, even things jokingly. That night he was raving on about how Trump won and how significant it is, and in 50 years we're going to be talking about this with our kids and stuff like that. Like, you know, you're allowed to enjoy things of the world in that sense, but don't get caught up on all the pettiness. Don't get caught up on all the little things happening. Like, when it comes, like when death comes knocking, that door's opening, you know. Mm. It's not something you can say not now to. Yeah. We had no choice in the matter. He had no choice in the matter. His family had no choice in the matter. God bless his family. Phenomenal family, in how they've leaned on our Lord and our Blessed Mother in all of this, especially his parents. But we don't get a choice in the matter, you know. Like, God bless him, his dad had to go to the scene, and when he got there, they hadn't even found his body yet. They didn't even know he was hit. They thought it was an abandoned car. And he was arguing with a police officer saying, no, my son is here. My son called me. And then he called his phone, and the other officer did a lap and saw the phone, and then he saw his body. Oh, you know, gosh. Like, this man had to watch his son be pulled onto the road, dragged onto the road, and they tried to resuscitate him, but it was far too late. Like, that's a cross to carry, you know what I mean? And everyone has to carry a different cross, especially his parents in this situation. But the reality is, like, death waits for no one. Mm. And we have to ask ourselves, are we really prepared? Like, are we really, really ready to go? Because it's not like you're going at 80 years old or 90 or 95 or 100. We don't know. It could quite literally be tonight for me or tonight for you. And it might be hard to hear, and I don't say that to make anyone uncomfortable, you know, your girlfriend or your family or whoever. But like me saying it doesn't change it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's
I'm
right.
not manifesting, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true.
It's very much a reality, and like we just need to enjoy our time and make sure that that time is first and foremost united with our Lord in a state of grace, and enjoy our time with our family, enjoy our time with our friends. It's a cross to carry, man. Like I never thought in a million years I'd be carrying the coffin of one of my mates. You know, it's not something you ever fathom having to do, but it is something that can happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Fair, man. Thank you for sharing that.
No, that's okay, man. And like I said, it's very important for us to really keep our eyes locked in on our Lord, man. There's no other consolation. And in these times, like any family member of someone that's passed, he wasn't my direct family. Any family member will tell you, people are around the first week, the first 2 weeks, maybe the first 3 weeks, and then it just drops off.
Oh, yeah.
And then 6 months later, it's just you. And really the only consolation is our Lord. In the time of grief, it's just our Lord, man, and our Blessed Mother as well, especially through her 7 sorrows. But if you depend on others to console you, it will just get worse. They can't. Yeah, they can be present and it helps, and you always appreciate and love those that were there. But at the end of the day, no one will ever be able to do what our Lord and our Blessed Mother can do for you. And so that's what I would suggest. Again, it wasn't my biological brother. I was obviously very close to him, but I don't want to take away from, you know, what his family has experienced. And, you know, God willing, they can continue through their witness, show how to get through these things. But for me, it was very much staying focused on our Lord and offering it up. And when you receive communion at Mass, like, thank God for the time you had, you know. So he passed away on the Thursday morning, just after midnight. Thursday night, we had that Mass after the Hazza at 10 p.m. Beautiful Mass. And I received our Lord, and I never thought I'd say this in Thanksgiving. I was like, thank you thank you that I knew him, you know. And that's something we don't do enough, you know. Like, when you receive our Lord, just be thankful. Thankful for my siblings, for Sarah, for my parents. Like, thank you for all of it, you know. Thank you for all the blessings and the gifts you've given me, because really, through his wisdom, it might be taken away. And if it's taken away, it's not that he did it to you, it's that he allowed it to happen. And if he allows it to happen, we got to trust him. And it's very hard. It's very hard to have that, you know, to have that trust. The other thing as well is, it should never deter us from continuing to love. Like, I remember someone was, you know, some people, like a few of us were hanging out and someone was quite upset, and I said to him, you know, there's a way you could never experience this again. He's like, how? I said, just don't have any friends, don't love anyone, just lock yourself up, C.S. Lewis style, you know. Not to say he did it, he spoke about it, you know. To love is to be vulnerable. And if I had to choose to experience this but have the relationship I had, or not experience this but not have the relationship, no, I'll take the first one. Like, it's worth it, you know, for the brotherhood we have, the fraternity we had. I traveled with him, I got to know him, especially the last year, quite intimately. You know, it's a beautiful thing that I wouldn't trade. You know, that pain, like there's that saying, grief is just unexpressed love. You know, love is between two people. When one person suddenly is gone, I can't give that love to anyone anymore, not directly.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's so powerful, it's painful, you know. And it's like, if I want the grief to go, I need the love to go as well. You don't want to sacrifice the love, you know. So it's like, if I want the grief to go, the love has to go. You probably don't want the grief to go, because you want to hold on to that. You still want to think of that person and be hurt, because like that hurt is the love that was there.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah.
Amen. Thanks so much for sharing, bro.
No, that's all right, man. It
seems almost inappropriate to ask you to do this now after what we spoke about.
No, it's all good, man.
But,
we're on a podcast. Do you want me to sign the thing?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
You've done it once before.
Yeah.
You know the go.
Yeah, that's all good, man. More
name, signature. and whatever message.
Yeah, sure.
Quote, whatever. I'll hand you this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll bring the canvas over.
No worries. No worries.
It's not a pleasant sight for anyone to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just do it anyway.
Anyway, man, you can be different. Do it in the bottom corner. Why not?
Just sign it, my name, and then a Bible verse.
Bible verse, anything. Doesn't have to be a Bible verse necessarily, but. Sarah's trying to tell me something, and I'm not understanding what's going on. Which is, thank you, bro. Is that an R?
What is it? What have I done?
Francis Thames?
What did I do there? Oh no!
Leave it. It's experience. It's an experience, bro. It's part of the experience.
Trauma from year 8, bro. When I spelled my name wrong in art.
No.
I wrote fracas. I full skipped the whole letter. I got bullied for like 3 years, man.
Are you serious?
They called me fracas.
That's
for like 3
sad.
years. They created the monster you see today. Are we leaving it?
Yeah, leave it, bro. I
I
reckon.
think I made
It's
it.
part of it. It's part
I
of
think it's an R somehow. I don't know what happened there.
it. It works. It's good. Thank you. It's gone.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I'm sorry to bring back your year 8 trauma.
No, that's all right.
I didn't mean to.
No, all good.
Before I ask you what you wrote, what were you saying?
I was
Sarah?
saying better together.
Sarah, oh my gosh.
I don't
Better together. Anyway.
What's better together?
We had
explain after.
no, it's all right. It was said
Okay.
on the last episode last season. We had a guy, he was, I can't really remember now, worked the Catholic schools, New South Wales.
Like the
sports
department.
sports department or something. Anyway, his message was better together, and I don't know, we always just had a laugh about it. Anyway, that's as far as I'll go with that. So Revelations 21:5.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's I think I put it on the canvas last year as well, to be honest.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, it means you live by it.
Quote. Yeah, I try to. Revelations 21:5 is, "Behold, I make all things new." Yeah, that's sort of, it's something that I still go with. It's been a long time, but it's still sort of my go-to. I think it's important for people to remember. It really is never too late. You know, our Lord's mercy is so abundant, and it's literally never too late. I had our very close family friend. She got baptized at 82 years old, 29 days before she died. Literally in
Wow.
hospital on her deathbed.
Thanks be to God.
And so our Lord's mercy is so abundant.
Yeah.
And people sometimes feel like, and I felt like this in my past, where I don't know how I'm going to get out of this being whatever situation you're in, whatever mistakes you've made, it just doesn't matter with our Lord. There's always a way back. So that's sort of something I like to, I try and remind myself of and try and tell people as well. He renews everything, and Lent is the perfect time now, especially as we go into Lent. This is the time of renewal. So,
Amen.
yeah.
Beautiful. Well, in the spirit of Lent and of renewal in Christ, just to remind everyone at home that our life is not our own. We belong to Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So don't be afraid to go against the grain. Francis, thank you so much, bro.
No worries.